week sports wise. It's been a crazy year. 2020 has been so wild. Today, we got another action-packed field show. We covering everything from Nationals, Capitals, NBA playoffs. We even gonna bring some MLS. We gonna even talk a little bit of WNBA like we talked about last week. We haven't covered the Mystics. They're having a rough season this year, and we're gonna just give a quick breakdown towards the end of the show. But we got a lot going on. Make sure you go check out sportsothp.com for all the updates and all the live streams, all the apparel line. Make sure you go check it out. You see, I'm rocking the new Sports OTHP apparel line. We partnered up with Eric Kusa, my main man aside. Appreciate that, man. Y'all be on the lookout. We got the fall line coming out soon. I appreciate the folks that's already copped some of the merchandise already. And I got more orders coming in. So appreciate the love and the support and keep it coming. Robbie G, how you doing tonight, good sir?
Good. It's hard to convert files and do things in the background. Just lots of crazy stuff going on here. I'm just updating the post. Hopefully it'll add the link for your YouTube to our Facebook. But I'll share all of that out in just a couple of minutes during the show. But yeah, it's good. It's a good night. It's unfortunate that we're going to have to break down the Capitals, in which we will have to talk about. There's a bunch of news and notes that I'm going to break down first before we get into that. Let me just break that down, and then I'll share it to a couple of groups, and we'll bring Anna Noxon, our guest, to talk a little bit of hockey. Obviously, the big story of the day is that the coach, Todd Reirden, got fired after the games that we'll be discussing in just a few minutes. And so that's the breaking news. I'm happy that they made the decision quickly. We'll talk a lot more about it as the podcast goes on. A couple of the other news and notes I just want to go over really quick, and then we'll bring in Anna. We'll talk about the two games. Then we'll talk about the coaching situation, and we'll talk a little hockey after that, and that'll sort of be hour one. Other hockey news, Ovi is going to be the cover athlete of NHL 2021. It's 14 years after his last one. He was last the cover athlete in 2007, rocking the Screaming Eagle, if you remember. He's got a classic look on the cover of this as well. A bunch of different looks for a couple of the different versions that are coming out. It looks really cool. People can check that out on EA Sports' website. Also, some interesting news coming out of the Nationals. They fired an employee who allegedly threw 2 cups of hot coffee in the face of a female convenience store employee in the Dominican Republic. He's part of the team of people that are the Nationals Dominican Academy. We've gotten some stars out of that from like Juan Soto, Victor Robles, Suero, Defoe, and rookie infielder Luis Garcia. And so he was an administrative assistant that had become an administrator down there. So he was a part of that team. So they quickly fired him once they figured this out. The Nationals, in a statement, said, "We don't tolerate this type of behavior in our organization." A couple other things we want to pass on our well wishes to Ron Rivera. It's been announced that he has cancer. Hopefully it's early and treatable, but he's going to be fighting that while coaching a brand new team, the Washington football team. So we want to extend our well wishes to him and to his family. I also wanted to wish Kobe Bryant a happy belated birthday. He would have been 42 yesterday. They celebrated Kobe Bryant Day today in LA as it's 824, his 2 iconic numbers. They also named the street outside of him at Staples Center after him today, as it was Kobe Bryant Day. So happy belated birthday and rest in peace. And I will have his jersey as part of a conversation we'll have a little bit later as NBA talk, but his jersey will always be a part of this man cave. It's not a Washington sports team, but those are some of the news and notes. Carol, do you have any quick reactions to any of that, or do you want to just get into hockey stuff and hockey talk?
I guess I'll go ahead and give a quick reaction to the news and notes. First of all, with the firing of Todd Reirden, we spoke about it last week in great detail about, some of the complications with him taking over a team, being, more of a veteran team with all the superstars that they have and, trying to figure out a way to give the team a different look, and about him maybe not being in a good position with him being a first time coach and not knowing what adjustments to make or which buttons to push with the players. And I think we did. I'm not going to say we saw that as one of the issues with them in their early exit, but you definitely saw the difference from when Trotz was there and when Reardon was there. That Trotz had his finger on the pulse of this team, and he knew what buttons to push. He knew what strategies to use, and knew how to combat adversity, because we know all the adversity they faced up until they won the cup. With the national situation with the Dominican Republic, I'm not sure. The whole story hasn't come out, but it makes no sense for anyone to go to that extreme, no matter what the altercation, conversation, or whatever it was, and actually go get 2 cups of hot coffee to go throw on someone. That's just totally inappropriate. I love the way the Nats handled it, and handled it ASAP and got him out of the organization. And apparently, he was like a guy that came up from an intern to a prominent position in the Dominican Republic for the baseball school they had down there, and all because of a stupid whatever it was. He's now probably he's facing charges. I recall that they said that there was a warrant out for his arrest. Getting to the Washington football team with Ron Rivera, all the prayers to him. Luckily, like I said, he was doing a self test, and I believe and his lymph nodes. I'm not sure exactly which ones or whatever, but they said it's totally curable. He caught it in time, and they've already put in place, in case it does take him away from football, that the defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio will take over, head coaching duties, and that possibility that it causes some issues with him being able to be the coach of the team. And just to wrap up with the whole NBA, NHL, this is just something else off topic with the COVID situation. Once again, I just want to applaud them for the strides that they've been taking to keep all the players safe and be able to get the sport off without a hitch. We've seen hiccups in the Major League Baseball, and where there's still the question mark of football. How is that going to work? I actually saw a report talking about they had a lot of false positive reports with the football testing. And I didn't get a chance to read the article, but I definitely saw that because they have had a couple of cases pop up. You've had folks opting out. So it's going to be interesting going forward with this whole situation. But yeah, it's going to be a great show. We got a lot to cover, a lot to break down, especially with the early exit with the Capitals and the NHL playoffs still going on. I actually have the Nats game on one TV, which will be doing Nats talk in the second hour. They're currently down 2-0 to Miami, top of the fourth, 2-on, 1 out. Austin Voth on the mound. He's been a little sporadic in the last 2 innings. He walked in a run last inning, and the Marlins just scored a run. I believe it was on a RBI single to make it 2-0. And I also have the New York Islanders and the Philadelphia game on right now. Just started. 0-0, 18:31 left in the
We have the same games on live in the man cave, and they're in the lab. So yeah, I'm watching both that Nats game and that Islanders game as well. So we'll break down both of those throughout the night. We'll definitely talk a little general NHL as sort of the second half of this half an hour. But let's bring in Anna Noxon now, and we can break down these last 2 games for the Washington Capitals. I know last week we didn't break down the 3 losses. This week I kind of wanted to break down each of these games because they're so different, but they're so important to the story of why we no longer have a coach that we just were breaking at the beginning of our show. Not breaking because it happened yesterday, but in the podcast world, that's breaking news, right? So it's good. It's good for you to be with us here tonight. I'm excited to have this conversation. I know that you and Gil, I'm sure, had an interesting conversation last night about it as well. But how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm coming off of a very short beach vacation, and it's exactly what I needed to kind of recharge the batteries. I was hoping to, be relaxing on the beach with beers and having a good time and saying, okay, I'm going to watch the Caps and no worries and everything's going to be okay. And that didn't happen. And here we are.
For sure. And if people want to ask questions, again, we shared it. We got live on YouTube. You can ask Carol some questions, and live on Facebook. We're doing the producer feed, so we're doing it 2 different ways tonight. But yeah, let's just get into that first game, the one that was the win, the one that I'm super happy we didn't get swept by, because as bad as this was, it would have been worse if we were swept. I needed at least one win in this series.
Yes.
So why don't you break down the goal scoring in that one?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when I was thinking about how I was going to present this, I wound up writing up something that I haven't done in a while. So it's a very abridged version, but it's a very positive version. So we'll just talk about Tuesday, August 18th, the Capitals played Game 4 against the Islanders. We have Kuzi scoring first, which I feel like the team needed. I think the fans needed. We needed to see the Selly. We needed to kind of get that momentum going. You have Ovechkin scoring twice in this game, which is just fantastic. It's exactly what, again, fans needed, the team needed, his leadership skills to say, hey, this is, let's keep this ball rolling. Carlson gets 2 assists, Kuzi gets an assist, and then to top it off, Holtz gets an assist. So for me, it was like we walked away with this 3-2 win. And what I loved about it, totally, yay.
Yes, exactly.
What I loved about it was they looked like they were having a good time. Not like they just looked so much more relaxed on the ice. It looked like that 2018 team that we know and love, and the chemistry was there, the consistency was there. Everything just kind of fell together, it was awesome. And then to see Kuzi interviewed afterwards to say, hey, we just went into it and just wanted to say we wanted to have fun. We didn't want to have to, have any worries and whatever. I wish they would have had that mindset game 1, not game 4. But I think that they just showed us that it's there. It just wasn't there this season. Not giving up on them. I won't ever, but I think that this was a little humbling for the Capitals to have a fantastic game and look so sharp and so skilled, and then the next game not so much.
Let's talk about the good for a second before we get into the bad. There was a lot that I saw. It gave me a lot of hope going into a Game 5, right? That false hope that the Capitals have done to us for so many times in the playoffs. I know that some people are newer Caps fans, rock the red era, and I appreciate that. I've been a fan for over 20 years, so I remember lots of heartbreak, more heartbreak than good, right? So, So I've been kind of used to it. And I actually, a lot of people, I went on a hockey show the next night. They're like, how are you? Are you okay? I actually, took this whole thing a lot better because, first of all, they didn't get swept. I would have been really pissed if they got swept. I would not have taken that well at all. And I think that they are very close. And you hear later in a press conference by GM Brian McClellan, where he thinks that they're very close too. They just need the right buttons pushed. And that's a little bit about what we were talking about last week, where we just felt like Todd Reirden, at least for me, wasn't fiery enough. He got a little fiery at some points, but I just didn't get enough of that from him. And it seems like the players were just kind of like his pal, and it just didn't have that same sort of situation where Trotz was the boss, right? Yeah. And they followed suit. And you need to have a head coach that does that. I think that will be important as part of our discussion that we'll have in a little bit. Carol, before we get into the negative of Game 5, do you have anything you want to reflect on in Game 4?
To me, this was more of a game of a champion's heart, that they didn't want to get swept, that even though the Islanders have been outplaying them when they did fall off and didn't play the full 60 minutes, I feel this was a gut check. Just they was like, we're going to go out here. That's the mentality they had in 2018. We're just going to have fun, play our game, and go out there, and whatever happens, happens. And they went out there and showed what they could do. They outplayed the Islanders. They outshot them in the second period, I believe, 15 shots to 9, and they got the game-winning goal in the third. So it was a classic Capitals game that we were looking forward to see throughout the playoffs, and unfortunately, we only got to see it for that one game. And as for the season, I really can't see the season as a disappointment. I mean, they finished first in the Metro. They had some adversity, had some hiccups. They had some new pieces that, were in the lineup that they were trying to find their way. And Todd Reirden, I felt like if he'd had more, if it wasn't this team with the window that they have, the limited window that they have for a possible, another run for the cup, he probably would stay on somewhere else because they still finished first in the Metro
Yeah.
and, played some decent hockey. But with the window, with, folks wanting Ovi to get more than one ring, and he still has at least another 3 or 4 years. I think it was the right decision to, go ahead and let him roll. Just we were supposed to talk about our possible coaching prospects too. We'll see if we can squeeze that in before we get into the NHL also.
Right. Well, I want to say a big shout out to everybody who's checking us out live. A lot of people watching and a lot of people reacting, and so I appreciate all of them. Stuart Small was saying it would suck if the Flyers won the cup. I agree. I will grudgingly be rooting for the Islanders, who I will mention have scored. I was looking at something else, but it looks like Green scored the goal. All right, a goal and 2 assists. So I think it was him who scored, but I didn't catch that. He says that my 20-year-old tenure holds nothing to him being a fan since '74. So I know plenty of Cavs fans have had more heartbreak than I have. I'm just saying I've seen 20 years of it. But yes, I agree. And I defer to many of you, who have stuck with this team through the thick and thin, and why it was so important that we got that one championship, no matter what happens. That's why we'll always thank Holtby for the save. We'll always get to celebrate that we're the District of Champions. It's really important. So Steve House says, when you get to it with BM saying you need an experienced coach that'll hold players accountable, who are the experienced coaches available? Please know Babcock, and what players was he referring to that need to be held accountable? So yes, we will definitely get into that.
That's a great question.
That's a great question. So we'll come back to that, Steve House, for sure. And if anybody else wants to put their questions in, we'll get to those towards the end of the segment. But let's get into the bad game real quick, and then we'll get into the firing, and we'll move on and talk about the future of the Washington Capitals. But Anna, take it away, unfortunately, for Game 5.
It was terrible. Game 5, we lost 4-0. And I felt just that there was absolutely no spark. I'm not going to say that they looked tired, because they didn't look tired. They just didn't look like they cared. I felt the previous game that we were seeing that bromance kind of like, oh, we're all into it, and the teammates and everyone was for each other. And this just felt off. It just really, from the beginning, from that puck drop, I just had a feeling. And like I said, I was took a little vacation down in North Carolina, and I'm like, what could bother me? I'm on the beach. This is great. I wound up turning the game off in the third period, and my daughter, who's so funny because she's been a Tom Wilson fan too. Amazing. I don't know where the influence comes from. It's so crazy. But she said, oh, Mom, you went to bed. She said, I was going to stay up and hope to come and wake you up, but it didn't happen. And I thought, I know, it's just to wake up to a 4-0, that was harsh. That to me was, you know what, we don't deserve to go any further. We truly, when you start to look at the other teams and their players and how well they've done, I don't think the Capitals would have been able to make it out of, we would have been swept the next series.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Stuart Small was saying no sense of urgency in Game 5. Hats off to the Islanders, but we didn't show. And that's the key is they played a good team. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Trotz in a little bit. But this was the game I knew our coach had to go because we didn't have the fire in the belly that I needed to see consistently. But before I go into a little tyrant on that, I'm going to let Carol give his breakdown because I'll know I'll go for a while.
Go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and have to go on the other side of it. To me, this was Trotz getting his team ready to end the series. He knows what happened in hockey playoffs. If you get the first win, you get the second, the whole momentum changes. I attribute this to more of Trotz getting his team ready. And we spoke about it last week with the youth and the speed and the defense that they play. We've seen Trotz's defense with the Capitals, and we saw how stifling it was with the mix of veterans and the mix of youngsters that they had in that championship run. Now you have a team that's fast, that can score, and when they do get a lead, they stifle you. They take away time and space. And I feel like it might have been Reardon didn't have them up for the game, but I attribute it more to Trotz was had his team ready to basically put his foot on the Capitals' neck and get them out of there so they could advance to the next round. 4-0 shutout is never a good thing, especially in an elimination game. But I mean, like I said, it might be a wake up call. It might be whatever you want to call it. But with this whole crazy season and with the the COVID and all of that, the bubble and all of that, I'm not really too pissed off like most folks are. I'm
Yeah.
just like there's still opportunity. We don't know what's going into the 2021 season, how that's going to play out, but. This team still has talent. This team still, unfortunately, has a question mark at goalie with Hobie's contract being up. I know McLennan mentioned that a little bit. I didn't get a chance to check out the video Robbie posted. I was trying to, but I didn't. I did catch a couple of snippets. So it's definitely going to be interesting all season and going into the next season. But I'm not really going to say I was down on the Capitals for their effort. I just feel like the Islanders were up for the game and just were executing better. And we saw that throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. People are already putting in their picks for who they want in the coach. We'll definitely get into that in the next segment. The people are supporting Lavi as long as it's not Babcock or
Why
Bruce
people
Booth.
hate Babcock? Why?
Okay, we'll get into that. He's a jerk, but I mean, he was doing some crazy kind of I don't know. He was borderline hazing. I don't know. It's just I don't like the culture that he brings. That's not necessarily what I want in. I get he's a winner. I don't know if I trust it. I just no. But anyway, no, I get it. No Bruce Boudreau. I will talk in a few minutes about actually why I kind of like Bruce. I like Gabby, but I understand that he's not for everybody. But we'll get into that in a few minutes for sure. But into this discussion, I agree. Trotz had them ready. He was prepared. He knew the deal. We knew that they made some adjustments in Game 4, but we knew that they were going to bring it more. And it's not just making adjustments one time in the playoffs. The reason Todd Reirden needed to go is he needs to keep on making adjustments. When what wasn't working in the first period, then he needs to figure out what's going to make it work. And it just felt like they were just playing such a stifling defense, and maybe their system, Trotz's system, is designed to stop what Todd Reirden did because it was ingrained in them. So it's difficult for sure for a lot of reasons. What was that?
It was more about coaching too. Trotz knows Reirden, and he said with the adjustments, he knows how his brain works. He knows that he basically was learning under him, so he basically knew what to do to cause him issues that he wouldn't know what to do in certain situations. So to me, I know Trotz, he probably cracked him a good old OE like he did in the Capitol. I still remember that he cracked the bottle of OE. I'm like, Trotz drinking some malt liquor. I'm like, wow.
Oh yeah.
I guarantee he probably cracked the bottle, and him and Baltimore probably was sitting back after that game, did a nice little toast or whatever. Like, yeah, we showed those guys when they let us go early. They got their cup, but they miss us now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I still have my Varlamov jersey hanging on the wall. I flipped it over and it's just a Capitals jersey, but it is a Varlamov jersey.
You should have burnt it, man. You should have burnt it.
Seriously, what is wrong with you?
I should have. I clearly jinxed it, but it's hard because I love that time period. I love back in the day with him and Ovi, and I like Varley. I have nothing against him. He didn't leave on necessarily bad terms. It was they thought that Holtby was the future and they just went that direction. And but anyway, it's going to be interesting for sure. I'm happy that they made the decision so quickly. I do highly recommend all of our listeners go check out. I shared it to a bunch of Caps groups. I shared it on our Facebook page as well. What GM Brian McClellan said after, I think it was really important to understand his thought process, how we got in this situation with Todd Reirden in the first place, how he realized it wasn't going to work, and why he needed to cut strings. Because what people don't realize is it's going to go very fast here. It's going to go end of season, then ideally it's draft and free agency, and then right to the next season in December, which is just it's a very condensed period of time. So they got to get ahead of the coaching situation, right? They, if they're going to make a move and they think that that's what the difference is, he's claiming that there was a problem with the culture of the Capitals and they're slipping. They just didn't bring that sort of, work ethic every single game that they did in 2018, where it's just
I agree.
Win every day, kind of like what the Nationals did for their championship. You have to win every single day, and it's a grind, and it's one of the hardest things to win is the Stanley Cup, to win those 16 games with all the flukes and bounces, and then add, a bubble and COVID. And some people are like, well, you should have gotten more time because it's sort of a gimmicky way to kind of throw it all together at the end or whatever. But if I didn't see anything in that said, hey, we got to keep this guy, he's so close to coaching. In my mind, he regressed a little bit. Last year was better with more injuries, right?
Yeah.
And now I know that it's Trotz that he was coached against, and I know that we got to give the Islanders credit, but he didn't make the adjustments that we needed. And 2 years in a row, we have top-end talent to win the division, even if we're just kind of luckily won the division this year. I think it should have really been the Flyers. But at the same time, like, you just can't the average shelf life is 2.5 years on these guys. So, which was why, going back to the Trotz thing, he didn't want to fork over $25 million, have the Trotz thing blow up in his face 2 years down the road. He didn't win anymore. He's,
right.
2 second-round exits, from Trotz, and then we're back to where we were, and then he owes that guy another, $15 million, and then he has to pick up another, so I get it. It's $25 million is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and you have to consider that, Trotz wasn't a new coach coming to the Capitals, and everyone's like, oh, rookie coach, and all of a sudden he just took him the Stanley Cup. There was an 18-year span, before he got the cup, however many, 2 different teams before the Capitals. There are those things to consider, but I think going back to Mac's speech, which I applaud, I really thought that Brian McClellan just took that 20 minutes or however long the video is and was just exactly what we needed. There were no excuses. There wasn't any anger. It was very to the point. But I think you understand from him, from his point of view, he's passionate about the team. He wants what's right for the team. And I think the 2 things that stood out the most to me was him holding the players accountable. And I think that that's huge. And I think that take Todd Reirden and Cashman out of the situation and start holding the players accountable for things that they did and did not do. And most importantly, the consistency. They kind of go hand in hand. You want to, like Jacob Vrana, going to hold you accountable for your plays because you weren't consistent. Like, you were so fantastic up until the pause, and then I don't know what happened, but it makes people second guess what's going to happen, in December, because you had this break, and is it not a good thing for you, or whatever it is that you can't put it on the coaches. You put that accountability and the consistency on the players. And then I also appreciate the fact that he realized that the defensive line needed to have a better positive pairing. And I feel like there were things that we were trying out and things that we were moving around, and it didn't totally work. I like Dylan and I like Carlson together. I'm not an Orlov fan, but because he's so inconsistent. Gudas, I think we're out. I still feel like Kempney has a place, but I know other people don't. I just feel like he spoke about the team very truthfully, didn't sugarcoat anything, said, they'll kind of do whatever they can to keep Holtz, but we know it's kind of at stake, and we know what everybody wants. He spoke about Sammy and the injuries, so there wasn't any sugarcoating, and I appreciate that, because it could have been a lot of, I don't know.
It could be a lot of nothing answers.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally agree. But Carol, I'll let you have.
Sorry, Carol.
Yeah, you said a lot of key things, but I have to disagree with the assessment of Trotz, saying he had 18 years and then he got a cup and boom, boom, boom. You remember he spent 15 years in Nashville with no offense. He had solid defense and solid goaltending, but they never had offense. So when he came to the Capitals, yes, it took him 3 years to get to the pinnacle, but he had the goaltending, he had the offense, but he didn't have the defense. And unfortunately, it took them 3 years to buy in to the type of defense, and then we saw that run they went on. I just think that Reirden couldn't get the guys to buy in to his style of play. That's why I say they should have kept Trotz. 5 years, $25 million ain't shit. Babcock's still getting almost $30 million from when he got fired from Toronto and that $50 million. So if they had to bite $15 million, I'm not really tripping off of that. That's why I say it was a bad. I didn't check out the video, but I hope McLennan took some onus on not signing Trots to that 5-year contract, because then he knew how to push the buttons on his team. He had the pulse of this team, and he had the team buy in. This was the same team that we saw, not the same team, but the similar foundation of this team. And like you mentioned, Orlov, inconsistent. That playoff run, Trots had that man playing some good hockey. Remember, I'm not an Orlov fan either, but I gave him congrats, and that he stepped up in that season. That's what a good coach does, pushes the buttons of the team at the right time. And I feel like McLennan should take some onus on not re-signing Trots. And to me, 5 years, $25 million ain't shit. And a team that could possibly win the cup again and get all of that added revenue from the jersey sales, from the video sales, from the fake cup sales, and all of that stuff. So I didn't check out the video, but I know probably he didn't take any onus on that, because that would be un-GM light. But I just think Trots would have had this team in a better position to win 2 out of 3 cups, or maybe 3 out of 5, or whatever it was, if he'd have stuck around. Right. So I think that Reardon is a decent coach, but he has to learn. Just like Trots had 15 years in Nashville, went through every different scenario that you could imagine, not getting to the pinnacle. But then when he finally had the pieces in place, and he knew it was a process in order to get them there, he couldn't just come in there, like you say about Babcock, hazing and doing other, stuff trying to get his point across. He let them see what happens. Yeah, you're great during the regular season, but when it's time for playoffs, you have to play defense. You got to block shots. You have to be sound on 200 feet of the ice, not just in the offensive zone. And we saw once they bought in, after that 0-2 start against Columbus in the playoffs, they finally understood. And then we saw the transition and saw the difference when that team got going to beat Columbus 4 straight, to take out Pittsburgh at their building. And then they had 2 back-to-back shutouts against Tampa Bay, a highly offensive team in our Eastern Conference Finals. And then it could have been a sweep in a Stanley Cup if it wasn't for that cross-check by Reeves in Game 1 that gave the Vegas the win. So all of that stuff, as an ex-coach, is the stuff that I look at. And that's why when they didn't re-sign him, I know we all didn't agree with it, but I was highly pissed.
Yeah, no, I think you make a lot of great points. We should have probably kept him. The issue for them was term in years. They would have paid $5 million for less years each year. He wanted the 5 years. He was very adamant about that, and they were very adamant they didn't want a total contract to be 9 years, knowing the history of hockey coaches in this, in the league. But I agree. I mean, obviously, in hindsight, it was a huge mistake for them, right? I mean, it's easy to say now, but at the time where they're not at a non-starter in number of years, it doesn't matter how many million you're talking about.
I think I said it was a mistake there too. I might got to go back and check the record, Robbie. I think I might have said it was a mistake when they didn't resign.
Yeah, no, it's. I think it'll be interesting. But so let's talk about coaching futures, right? Because that's kind of where we're at right now. Yeah. Everyone's kind of clamoring in the comments, I think, for Laviolette. That's my guy that I've been championing online for the last 24 hours. I like what he brings to the table, mostly because he's brought 3 different teams to the Cup, 2 in the Eastern Conference, 2 that are against a division rival in Carolina and Philly. So he knows those cities and knows. I mean, I understand that they run different systems now, but understands the city, the mentality, being in the Metropolitan Division, even though he was in it when it was the Southeast Division. But and I think those are important. He also brought them to Cups early on in his coaching, right? We're talking about the window closing, why we didn't have 5 or 10 years to give Todd Reardon 10 years to try to figure it out. We got to win this in the next 3 years because Holtby might be gone. We've got a really important core still. You got TJ Oshie, you got Nicholas Backstrom, got Alexander Ovechkin. Hopefully we re-sign him, which I think we will. But
yeah.
It's an important time, and we got a 2-year window in my mind, right, to try to figure this out with this core group. And then at some point, you're going to have to blow parts of it up. Right now, I think it's a retooling phase. We get rid of some of our bottom 6. We figure it out. He even said, the GM did, that he likes his top 7, added Eller into the top 6 mix, right? And I agree with that. We got to figure out the wings beside him and what our 4th line looks like. We got to go younger, speedier, maybe cheaper that way. But for coaching, I like Laviolette because he's come into systems and within a year or 2 been able to change that culture and get right back. And if we are what we're saying we are, where we're just a couple of steps away, that's what we kind of need someone to come in. Babcock, I think, is okay in the sense that he's brought teams to the championship before, but I just don't know if I like the culture he brings, if the culture is part of the issue. And then the other person that's the name's being thrown around is Gallant, or whatever his name is, Gallant. Yeah, the guy.
I wouldn't mind him coming here also, because he took the mix of the expansion team and did what he did, broke all. I mean, we know it was a different expansion draft, all the talented players, and it was unheard
That'd be
of.
so weird if he brings us to a cup where we're like against him in a cup, and then that would be a very strange scenario.
Yeah.
But
Copy guys work, man. You never know. But Laviolette, I'm not a fan of his. I mean, you talk there. He got three trips to the cup. Say the same thing for Babcock. He's 1 for 3. I'm leaning more toward Babcock. He's a prick too, just like I feel like Laviolette is a prick. But I feel like Babcock is a no nonsense guy. Only thing that I don't like about him is his defense. When even that wasn't a strong suit for him, and that's why when folks talking about bringing back in Bruce Boudreau, I'm like, y'all remember those seasons under him? Yeah, we scored a lot, but we were getting scored on a lot too.
Can I speak to that real quickly though, and then I'll let you finish your thought. Bruce Boudreau, the last couple of years, defensively has increased, and the offense actually was the problem. So what I'm saying, so like if he could bring it more to like a middle, right? And now he has the coaching experience he didn't have before, right? I understand why people didn't like him. He knows some of this core. And I think that he's actually a really good coach, and he's got that hunger where he's trying to get to that next level, where these other guys, they've been around the block a couple of times. So I don't know, and wouldn't that be a great story if Gabby and Ovi finally get their ring together anyway, right? I mean, it would be a great story. And I like Gabby, but I understand why people don't like him. I understand I'll probably get,
that's a valid point. I didn't check out his defensive record, and I know Minnesota's a more defensive team. I believe Anaheim. I know Anaheim still had some of the issues with defense, but I know Minnesota was a more solid defensive team and had less offense. So I didn't really look at his tenures at those other places. I was just going by first impressions, which I always talk about people not doing it. I did the same thing, but you know how that is. But that probably would be interesting. I'm gonna go check out and go look up some of his defensive improvements that you speak of from his last 2 tenures, because that would be.
He still doesn't have playoff success, which is something I really want. So that's why Laviolette is still my number 1. But I just don't think we can completely discount, Gabby as well, right? So I just,
definitely made a valid point. I'm gonna have to go look at his defense for those years in Minnesota. But it's going to be interesting because, as you pointed out, all the coaches that this team has had besides Trotz has been, the last 10, 12 years have all been first-time coaches, and we obviously see that doesn't work. So it's going to be interesting. The ex-Vegas coach, Gallant, I wouldn't mind him coming here also, but I think there's been some reports of him leaked to Seattle, to the Kraken, also with the new expansion team. So it's going to be interesting, but like you said, it's a small window. Hopefully McLennan is on it, and he knows who he wants and just have to go close the deal. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't want to hear your thoughts.
We'll just leave it at that. Yeah. Well, I saw people today putting Torts as their number 1 choice, which I didn't even think was an option. I was
is he still? Did they fire him?
No. So that's what I was missing. I was like, wait a sec, why is he at your number 1?
Couldn't do it.
Maybe just for
I would love it, but I know it would make Carol so mad.
You would.
I love his press conferences.
Well, that's just it. His press conference, the fact that he's like, I don't like your question, he walks off, brilliant.
I hate Todd Reardon's press conferences. It would be such an upgrade. It's
like snore and then I don't give a shit, But I will say of the choices, I just Babcock is just not on my top at all. When whatever it is, I don't know if it's just his vibe. I just don't like him. I just don't. And I know that people have been pinging me and being like, oh, give him a chance, give him this, give him that. I'm like, you know what? No, when you just don't like a coach, you just don't like a coach. And he's one that I just don't feel is a good leader for the Capitals players. The other options, I'm going to really have to kind of sit back and do a little bit more research on, because I don't have a favorite at this point. I thought I
It'll be your
would.
homework for next week. We'll come
Yeah,
back.
exactly.
You're a teacher. You like homework, you know.
Totally.
So like,
It's like, and yeah, and if I want to come back, I better do my homework.
right
But yeah, it's like I guess I just don't have a favorite at this point, but I definitely, you know, Torts, I'm like, oh, whatever, when people talk about him. I do respect Mac's opinion on wanting to have a veteran coach. It would be something new. It would be something different. And I'd also like to see, and I said this last night with Gil, I'd also like to see who they're going to put in Cashman's place. Because I think that is also going to speak volumes on like, who's that defensive line coach, and like, how is that all going to work together? Because you definitely, I'm big on chemistry, and I think that's gonna speak volumes as well. So, you know, I'd like to see who the options are on both sides and see how they're going to kind of marry together, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
it kind of makes me sad that we couldn't have kept like Todd Reardon as an assistant coach, right? Because I think he may end up being one of the great NHL assistant coaches, you know, and he just wasn't a head coach, right? And that happens with some people. Like, and I just I have nothing against him. I give him all the credit in the world for getting us there in 2018. He was a big part of that team.
Yeah. But
so
I also
a big fight going on in the Islanders Philly game, which shouldn't be surprising. But
the Clutterbuck.
Yeah.
That save that Carter Hart just made, like,
that save was incredible. Yeah, so this
he is fantastic.
I wanted to say something, but Anna was breaking it down. But that was a hell of a save, man. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I have to say this Islanders Philly game is much better than the 7-0 Nats game that we're probably not going to try to talk about.
I wasn't doing a game break, but after that last inning, I was like, I'm just going to leave it alone.
Yeah, that's going to the smallest TV in my room.
Right.
So just you know,
baby monitor.
Exactly. So, but no, I think that's good. I think for me, I definitely like as we were talking about, you need to have a coach who has been there before. And that's why I like Laviolette, because in just a couple of years, he's able to take a team, you know, into that championship window, and you know, within 2 years, which is the timetable he's got to do it again. And he's done it 3 times. For me, it speaks for itself in some ways. And I think I've always had a lot of respect for him on other teams. I know that Carol thinks he's a prick. I mean, almost all these NHL coaches are kind of pricks, you know?
If they sign him, I'm going to ride with him. Like I said, he's had success. That's just my,
of course.
That's my personal opinion.
They all look like Bond villains. They all look like
the coach I think that would be perfect for this team. Unfortunately, we spoke about it last night. Unfortunately, he's already taken, is Joe Quenneville. I would love to see Joe Quenneville here.
Right. Yeah. No, it's another interesting, you know, character.
I think it's all going to be so up in the air. And I will say, so Carol, I know that you haven't seen McClellan's his interview, but I will say the one thing that I appreciated about him speaking about Reardon was, of course, he's not going to throw him under the bus because there was no reason to, but that he truly felt like, and this is what I've been kind of going in the like pro Reardon end of things, was he wanted to see a team that had won the Stanley Cup for the first time in, you know, forever. And the coach, he was the assistant coach during that time. And then it would be a good transition for him to still be with that team. And they all had just high hopes that Todd Reardon could be, you know, head coach, because everyone was familiar with him. And as Gil said, he felt like the players saw Reardon more as a friend than as like a coach, you know, something like as a leader. And maybe that's what happened, but I thought it was a good move. And there were a lot of people who didn't, but I thought it was a good move just to kind of keep everything like, hey, you're getting rid of Trotz, but you're going to have Reardon and everything's the same and it's going to be good. And I guess it just didn't work out.
You got rid of I forgot I always get their names mixed up, but the dude with the beard, I always liked him. He was always like a common force back there. So, I mean, that's the onus of the GM. You know, he made a choice, and unfortunately, we have to live with it. But I just think that it would have been better if they had stuck with Trotz. And if it was a 5-year, $25 million, I'm like, really? $5 million a year is what made you say, nah? I'm like, I'm not really feeling that. But McLennan, I take my hat off to him because he was able to come in and put the team in a position to get the cup. So I'm not going to hate on him because we know about the previous guy that
he
was.
was directed to try to lower the money. I just got to put this one fact out there because I think it might change your opinion a little bit. So at the time when the question of $25 million is up on the board, they have to do renovations to a 20-year-old building. That's going to be very expensive. And so they were like, oh, can we get it done for 10 or 15 million with the guy that we bring grooming? Or we're probably going to have to let that guy go and hope that this 5-year contract works for the guy that we wanted to maybe fire 6 months ago. And, just kind of ride with it. And it's like, it's a tough decision, especially when the person's, 25 million. It's easy for us to be like, throw it at him. But if you have to be building a new building and renovations and all these costs that are real costs that we don't have to deal with, we just want to be like, whatever the cost, whatever he wants, he's great. And
I just got 3 championships in 3 years from the Valor, the Mystics, and the Capitals. I'm not going to weep a tear for him having to put out some money all of a sudden. I'm sorry.
I get that. And that might be fair. And some people on the Wizards fans have argued some of the similar stuff that they haven't made some of the right decisions with that franchise either. So, I mean,
don't even get me started on the Wizards. Oh my
right.
Another show in itself right there.
Right. But at the same time, I think with all the data they had at the time, this was sort of the right decision. But in hindsight, it was the wrong decision. But that happens in business.
Yeah,
and he admitted that he wishes that they could have come to terms on like a shorter term deal. But he couldn't get to 5 years, and he was directed not to by his boss. And that's kind of where he's at. Like if he was told we can't afford to do that for more than 3 years, that's worth.
I'm going to end it on this so we can get to the NHL playoffs. Yeah. Wrap up. We were talking, and I lost my point. Damn it! I got so much in my brain, I forgot my point. Bitch. It was a good point too.
I believe it was. Also, they were saying what players need to be held accountable. I was trying to go back to Steve House's question earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I think that they did. He didn't say specifically, but I think he meant Verana, right? I think he's, that was a player that he was kind of singling out without saying anything.
Yeah.
Top 6.
Because the last 2 seasons we've seen this kid step up
in the regular season, but in the postseason his numbers are horrible.
Yeah, but you got to look at where he is on that lineup with the talent that they had. They roll over. They rolled the first 2 lines majority. He got bumped up, but he excelled more when he was on the 3rd line.
Right, I understand. So, but then they need to figure out what the second line winger is, right? So, I mean, either way, if he's playing on the 3rd line and that works and that's fine, he wants to play with Eller, that's great. Then we still need to figure out with the money that we're not going to be spending on Holtby, who's our second line winger then? Because that's a question mark.
Connolly was gone. Connolly played a key role in that 3rd.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean,
that's why I say I can't put it all on Rana because Rana to me has excelled, and to me he's exceeded my expectations of what he would do with his size and the skill that he has. So I hope he wasn't speaking about Rana.
It was more of a general statement that some of the veterans have to step up, and he's going to be able to move some of the bottom 6, but he's not touching the top 7. So the top 7 have to perform, right? So I mean that's that's what it comes down to, and they didn't. I mean, other than Ovechkin 5-on-5, we had nothing. So I mean, I love TJ Oshie for scoring some power play goals. I love Kuzi trying to get a couple of things going, but 1 or 2 goals isn't enough from him either.
No.
And it's just it's difficult. It's they needed to produce more, and I agree with you. The fact that we don't have someone like a Jay Beagle, we need that 4th line. We're missing a lot of key components on those 3rd and 4th lines. You got to remember some just gritty goals in that 2018 campaign that happened, and it's just
we didn't see a lot of chaos at the front of the net. That's one thing that we didn't see under Ritter. We didn't see them crashing down as aggressive as they were before, and they were forcing pucks in there and whacking and going 5-6 shots in a enclosed area, and then you get that bounce that it goes in. So that's one thing that we did see lacking. I feel we saw lacking under Ritter's direction.
Right. So I think a bunch of players were missing in the bottom 6. I think people say this is the same team as 2018. It wasn't, especially. You lose like a Niskanen and Orpik, and I get that they're getting older and their contracts, we had to move them, and you have to make some moves in this. I
forgot about Niskanen. Yeah, he was crucial in that run too. Yeah, I didn't like that we didn't re-sign him.
Right. Well, we did, and then we traded him.
Oh yeah, they traded for Gudis.
Right, because that's a salary dump move, right? And then also it's a 1-year deal, so now we get rid of Gudis, and then stuff comes off the cap, for future years. So I understand you have to make these moves. When you win a championship, you don't get to keep everybody, and that's just kind of like what happens unless you're the Patriots somehow, which I don't understand. But well, they retool as well. But anyway, well, let's get into some NHL talk since we've used up almost all of our NHL talk time. So we're gonna just I'm gonna just quickly go through the what happened with those series, and then just quickly what we're doing in the series right now. But when we last left off, we knew most of how things were going, but Montreal ended up losing to Philadelphia. No surprise there, although they put up a good fight. Tampa Bay beat Columbus 4-1. We talked about that crazy overtime game last week. But other than that, Tampa Bay kind of took care of business. The only upset on the eastern side, unfortunately, were the Capitals to the Islanders that we've talked about. Boston beating Carolina was a little bit surprising, especially with their goalie leaving the bubble and all that that happened. But they look pretty good, and in fact, they're up 1-0 on Tampa Bay in their next round.
Halak had a sick game last night.
Right, yeah, he's been great, and we know what Halak can do in the playoffs. Unfortunately, I was.
we still got to be the scab on that one. We only got to talk about.
I was there. I get it.
For that series.
I was there in Game 5. I was also there in Game 2 when Nicholas got that hat trick, which was way better. But Game 5 and on, not so good. Anyway, so on the Western side of things, Vegas took care of Chicago pretty easily. Colorado looked really good against Arizona, and Grubauer looked great, and Burakovsky looked good, and Dallas beat Calgary 4-2, and it was a crazy turnaround in that series when they forced overtime, and they were able to win and then move on. And then St. Louis lost to Vancouver in the only upset on the Western bracket. So the last two Stanley Cup champions were the only two that were top 4 seed round robin teams to get knocked out, which I thought was interesting. And then on the West so far, Vegas is up 1-0 over Vancouver, and Dallas is up 1-0 over Colorado. That one's interesting because my wife and I rooting interests are different. She's rooting for Dallas because her family's from Texas. I'm rooting for Colorado because of Gruby and Varlamov, or because Gruby and Burakovsky. And then that Vegas-Vancouver, I'm rooting for Vancouver. I'm rooting for Tampa Bay, and I'm rooting for the Islanders, at least in my mind. But with all that being said, Anna, what are your quick thoughts on who's made it this far and how they got here and what they're doing?
Okay, so you want me to talk about like who
whatever series you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that Knights Canucks. Not pulling for the Knights. I just can't. I absolutely can't, and I want to do the Canucks because I want to see bigs. I think it's time. I think that I'd like to see a team that plays true 60 minutes of hockey and isn't dirty. Let's just leave it at that. I'm never been impressed. You're not going to ever get me on the Knights bandwagon because I just don't feel like they play true hockey. I feel like there's just too many dirty things going on. Plus, they go ahead and bench Marc-Andre Fleury. So I think that there's little scandal.
Wow. Yeah.
I was shocked.
I can't believe that made a comment. I just agents never should be making comments in the middle of a playoff run.
I missed that. Fill me in.
Okay, so Andre Fleury gets benched, right? Because they've had a goalie controversy for a while. It's not just like a playoff thing. Both goalies are going good. His agent basically smack talks and be like, "What the hell's going on?" And the media spin and everyone takes like, "Oh my God, the agent said something," and so it becomes a distraction just because the agent said anything, right?
Yeah.
And,
well, there was like a picture along with this tweet of like Marc-Andre Fleury like falling down with like a knife in his back that says like Golden Knights. Like they just completely backstabbed him and that they're just out, to kill. So a lot of negative vibes on the goalie end, but wow, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I did see something about Andre, about him telling his agent to take down some tweet or something. I think I did see that.
That's
Yeah, wow. The agent he's worried about his money. He's like, don't he get a bonus for being a winning goalie?
Exactly. So, I mean, there's a good chance he'll be benched the rest of the series. I mean, it's just like.
Who's their other goalie?
What's his name? He's good though. He's been their goalie for most of, like off and on for a lot of the season. Hold on.
I didn't write his name down.
Subban was there last year. PK's younger brother. Who was their backup this year?
It's Robin Leonard.
Oh yeah. He did have a hell of a season last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was that, but he
Linier, isn't it?
Leonard or Linier.
Yeah.
He had a hell of a season last year because I think he wasn't having a good year the year before, but last year he came on big. I can't remember what team he played for, and I didn't even know he was the Vegas. Oh wow, now I understand. Okay, that makes sense.
So there's like a and I think the Golden Knights statement, whether it was a coach or whomever else, was like, listen, when you look at the stats, you pick who has the better stats going into the the next series. Like you go with your best player, your best goalie, your best whatever, and that's just how it worked out. They didn't choose it over like personality or experience or anything. They just specifically looked at the stats, and Fleury's benched. And then the agent goes and does this, and it's not going to work in his favor. Unfortunately, it kind of makes him look like a bitch, but whatever. So it's like, sorry, he's got a ton of talent, but you have somebody that's better, so that's who you're going to play.
For sure.
So Islanders, Flyers, I don't know. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but I almost kind of feel like it's the Flyers' time.
They look good. I mean, I was talking about this a couple weeks ago on the show.
Yeah, they look damn good. And I will say I have respect for two players, just two. Carter Hart being one of them. I think that he is just a fantastic player that you cannot dismiss. And you have a veteran player like a Claude Giroux. It'd be nice to see him, if this is his last year or, getting towards that age of retirement. I think that I appreciate his skill as a hockey player. So I will go for the Flyers because damn you, Clutterbuck. I just can't. I can't go. But Beauvillier, I mean, my God, that 23-year-old is sick.
You wake up in the middle of the night and cold something like, Clutterbuck, I hate
Clutterbuck. Yeah, basically,
Clutterbuck.
he's the reason for everything that goes wrong. I'm like, damn you, Clutterbuck. Yeah, especially when I'm around my kids and I have to be like PC. I'm like, oh, Clutterbuck. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Curse. Oh my goodness.
It's a great curse. So yeah, that's interesting. I could never pull for Philly. I have a good friend of mine who's actually my best man at my wedding, who's a diehard Flyers fan. Yep. We've always given each other jabs forever. And I even, back when I was in college, was that 2008 run where we won Game 6. I was in Philly. Right. We won. I was very excited. It's the only road win I've ever seen.
Right.
And I had to basically hide, as I left. Right. And then we ended up losing Game 7 at home, which was it gave me so much shit after that. So I forever am gonna always root, and plus Trotz, and plus I think it would be sad for our team, but I'd be great for him if he could, win another cup. Right. Yeah. There's no hard feelings on my end. I think Carol's probably right. They probably should have paid the money. I understand the economics are tough. I see it from both sides, but I'm not going to wish him ill will.
Yeah. And
Islanders are up 1-0, I believe, right now in this game.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
It'll be a good fight. It'll be a good series.
Philly only has 4 shots in the first period, so their defense is locked in, and we know
it's legitimate. It's not like we lost to a bad defensive team. It's a legitimate defense.
Absolutely.
I'm actually pulling. I'm not even going to say this. I'm pulling for Trotz to win it all because he deserves it for all the hard work he put in, especially in the time in Nashville, going through all the adversity he went through. Him being a solid coach, and I'm not going to say he got a raw deal here, but I felt like that he should have got the benefit of the doubt after all the heartbreak this team has faced, and he was able to get to that pinnacle to the finally get the ultimate prize. I feel like they should at least sucked it up and said, all right, 5 years, 25, all right, bump it, let's go ahead and do it.
And he brought a last place Islanders team all the way from the bottom all the way up to playoffs 2 years in a row. They swept Pittsburgh last year. They could have almost swept the Capitals this year. I mean, it's just, he's done real work with that team. And they've lost a bunch of players, and he's been able to retool and, he did a lot more with a lot less players in my mind than our coach was able to
So
do.
I think you guys really truly like Clutterbuck is what you're trying to say. I think that's what you're trying to tell me.
Will that you have toward him. I haven't really that dirty. I haven't watched him as closely as you obviously have. But the same way you feel about Ryan Reeves, I feel that same. That's the way I feel about Reeves, the way you feel about Clutterbuck.
Oh, no, I'm there with Reeves too.
Yeah.
That one I'm not really,
Sorry.
I like Trots more than I dislike Clutterbuck. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I can understand that. And now Stars Avalanche.
Right.
Did
I was like, moving on.
Yeah.
I'm torn. I'm torn because the Stars don't get under my skin like some other teams, and I have to say that that Avalanche team is outstanding. McKinnon, and it's nice to see Burakovsky. I mean, he's doing good. He's not doing fantastic. I am sorry to see that Gruby's out though.
I think he got hurt. Now I'm pulling extra hard.
Yeah, I just saw that injury. They were showing it on the intermission report.
Yeah.
They said he's out indefinitely. Like he probably pulled something like that. So
that's just sucks.
But that's been kind of this thing, when he get injured, doing look like a routine save, but something always goes wrong. But yeah, Colorado, the Colorado series.
They're on fire, though.
I'm like Dallas because Dallas always beats the Capitals somehow. Colorado.
It was a 3 in a row where we lost to them. It was,
it's so frustrating.
I guess I'm pulling for Colorado. I'm not a big Andre fan, but I did like Colorado back in the day with Sakic and when they first came into the league. So I guess I could ride with Colorado winning that series. I wouldn't be mad. I say that.
Right. All right. Well, I think that we could probably wrap it up right around there. Anna has been gracious to say that she might join us next week. We're going to switch it up. So about this time next week, we're going to have a little hockey talk segment just to recap how these 4 rounds are going. So it'll be a quicker segment, probably like 15, 20 minutes. But I hope that people catch the Power Play Point podcast.
Last episode.
Last episode. SportsOTHP.com. Click the Power Play Point podcast button. It hasn't been uploaded yet. I'm sure it'll be uploaded sometime later this week, and I'm sure it'll be an interesting listen. And Anna, thank you for a wonderful hour of hockey talk, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, sounds good. And we'll hopefully you guys will have nothing but great things to say about Alex Smith.
Yeah,
I like him.
I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about him at all. I just didn't, in my opinion, I didn't think he would play another snap of professional ball. The fact that
I didn't either.
Yeah, the fact that he's out there in practice throwing the ball and working with the wide receivers. If he actually gets into, I said this last week and I said this on at the bar radio. If that man actually gets into a game and plays quarterback, I will eat my words, and if I see him, I will shake his hand. He's the most courageous athlete and most willful person I've ever known in existence for him to come back from an injury that horrific.
100%. And like I just happened to hear today on the news that the team was playing in Ashburn, and I was like, and they're like, and Alex Smith is on the field. Oh, he looks good. He's this. And I thought, that is, to me, that's just so great. And I just want nothing best for that guy. Like, he's just fantastic. So hopefully positive things will come out of your DC football segment.
Sounds good.
So
but I'll talk to you. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys next week.
I have no hate for Alex Smith in my heart at all.
Good. Good. Clutterbuck, it's a whole other story. All right, I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
All right, that was a great segment. So yeah, we're gonna switch things up. If you missed what I was saying before, 7:00 we'll probably switch and put the baseball segment first, and then we'll talk a little NBA playoffs, and then we'll talk about hockey right around 8:00 next week. This week we're gonna talk about an up and down week for the Nationals. We're gonna bring in Brian Brennan and Arun, and they'll join us, and we'll talk about. At least the Nats are making this game a little closer. It's 7-3 now, but I just want to say welcome to the show, Brian. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Definitely, it's good. Good.
What's up, man?
And Arun, how are you doing?
Not bad. I'm just having trouble setting up my webcam, but just go right ahead.
The Arun is in the building.
Yes, we have the voice of Arun. That's the important thing. Sounds good. All right. Well, while Arun figures out web camera technology, although I saw you for a second, that's why I was like, yeah, and then you went away. So who knows? Let's take it back a week. Carol, we talked about how they had to have a winning record through this week. A couple of games didn't happen, but it was definitely up and down. It wasn't quite as good as we had hoped, but not as bad as we could have feared. Why don't you start breaking down the games that were for the Nationals?
Yeah, it was a NL East week with the Braves and the Marlins. They were on the road against the Braves. They're currently playing the Marlins in the 5-game series we spoke about last week with some makeup games from when the Marlins got diagnosed with the COVID and the Nats didn't want to go down there. But let's get into the series with the Braves. If you're checking out my feed, you'll see the Braves scores up on there. I'm on YouTube. We're not going to talk about the other stuff there. Way to see that alone. But the first game of the series was an unfortunate 7-6 loss, where the Braves came back in the bottom of the ninth with a walk-off to win the game 7-6. The Nationals looked pretty much in control of this game for the most part. They were up. Like I said, they were up. What was it? 6-2. 6-2.
6-3, I think.
6-3. Yeah. And then unfortunately, Hudson came in and he wasn't at his best that day. And he gave up 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth for the Braves with a Swanson. What is it? Darby or something?
Dansby Swanson.
Dansby, I can't stand. He's a great player. That's why I can't stand him. So I never get his name right. He's definitely a 5-tool player. But he walked off. I didn't like their celebration. I don't know if you guys saw the celebration. I feel like they were mocking Juan Soto on that celebration for the walk-off, the way he when he hits the home run, he raises his hands to the sky and claps. I feel like they were, kind of taunting him with that one. But Will Smith took the loss. He went an inning and a third, giving up 1 hit, 1 earned run. For the Braves, Will Smith took the win, which put him at 2-0. He went an inning and a third, giving up only 1 hit, 1 earned run with 2 strikeouts. Unfortunately, Daniel Hudson took the loss. That puts him at 1-2. He only lasted 2/3 of an inning, giving up 3 hits with 4 earned runs and a strikeout. Luis Garcia, we got to talk about him a little bit. This second baseman is playing his butt off. I just saw a stat they had up that he's hitting like 357 for the time that he's been up, and he's like that. That's like the second highest average of a second baseman under the age of 20 in the MLB, so far. So this kid is definitely looking very, very major league like, and they say that he's Soto has taken him under his wing, and he's actually even taken some of Soto's approach, his two strike approach to the plate. That's why he's excelling and doing what he's doing. But let's get on to the good game where the Nats actually won game 2. I'll get your guys' breakdown after I run down this other game because the last game was unfortunately postponed and rained out. But the Nationals won the second game of the series 8-5 behind Victor Robles with another Golden Glove catch-esque play in center field to rob the Braves of a home run that would have gave them the lead, I believe, in the 7th inning. But he made another outstanding catch. This was another game where the Nats looked like they were the team of old, put up 4 runs in the 5th. And the good thing about Hudson is he got to come in the next day after giving up a 3-run lead with, situation. He came in and had a 1-2-3 inning in the bottom of the ninth to shut the door on the Braves to give the Nats the 8-5 win. Wander Swirl took earned the win. I put him at 1-0. He went 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, no runs with 2 strikeouts. For Atlanta, Tyler Matzik took the loss. That puts him at 2-2. He went an inning, only went a third of an inning, giving up 6 hits, 4 earned runs, and 1 strikeout. And as I mentioned, Daniel Hudson earned his 5th save of the season, going 1 inning, clean inning, no hits, no runs with 2 strikeouts. This was a classic Nats game. They batted around. They took advantage. They got 17 hits that game. Unfortunately, had 2 errors also, but the Braves had 3. So this was one of a good win for the team, especially with the Braves in the division, but they just have to get more consistent. Arun, I'll go to you first on this 2 out of 3 game series that they had against the Braves. What was your take on this on game 1 and game 2?
Yeah, the first game, like Garcia, he hit a home run, which was nice. He's like the youngest player in major leagues right now. And that Soto back and forth, apparently it started when Will Smith, the pitcher, told him to like
Oh yeah,
move away from the batting area before the inning started. And that was start that back and forth. But you could be right that that may have felt like revenge on the Braves' mind in like the bottom of the ninth. But Hudson, more importantly, he needs to get it done when you have a 6-3 lead.
yeah.
Those are the kinds of like losses that are pretty much like essentially the Nats had outplayed the Braves for most of that game. That home run. I mean, it's not. He was talking trash, and he did get you that extra insurance run. Most closers would have taken that. The second game, yeah, Robles made an incredible catch. Eaton, Soto, they had RBIs, good win. Unfortunately, it wasn't a sweep for the Nats, but at least they walked away with one win.
Yeah, definitely. I forgot to mention that exchange with Soto and Wilson. I was watching it live, and I was like, "Why is Soto watching?" Because Soto normally doesn't watch home runs. He normally, does his trot and does his thing. But yeah, I actually put a video out after I saw it. So yeah, I forgot about that exchange. Glad you brought that up, Arun. Brian, what was your take on this 2-game shortened series with the Braves?
Yeah, that first game was obviously a really bad loss. Hudson has to nail down the save in that situation. To give up 2-run home runs like that is really bad, especially for somebody as reliable as Hudson was last season. Just a really bad loss, but you like what you see in game 2, and he did a really good job, Hudson, I got to say, bouncing back in game 2 and getting the save in, a divisional game, which, you're going to play a lot of this season, so you have to win as many as you can. So, I think, the first game was a bad loss, but second game was definitely a good win for sure. And Garcia, I'm a big fan of Garcia so far. He is the youngest player in baseball. He's the first player born in the 2000s to play in baseball, and the first player born in the 2000s to hit a home run in baseball. So that's pretty cool. He's almost, Starlin Castro went down for the season, and you plug in this guy, you don't really know what you're going to get, but he's really been a spark plug for the team so far. He played well in the Marlins series too. So, I'm a big fan of Garcia so far. He's definitely him and Keyboom are big futures for the Nats.
I'm still concerned about Keyboom's fielding. He just doesn't look comfortable out there on that third base, on that hot corner. He just doesn't look comfortable to me out there. And we've seen some errors made by him throughout. Maroon, before I go to Robbie, Maroon, did you have any thoughts on Garcia?
Yeah, it's apparently Soto's taking him under his wing, and that's always a good sign. Like young 20-year-old and good. I don't know. He seems like a really promising player.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely got a huge upside, especially coming from the Dominican Republic with those contracts that they signed that aren't as lucrative as the other deals. So that's why we got to get Soto locked up in a couple of years. Robbie, did you get a chance to check out the Brave series at all, or you was knee deep in hockey?
No, I actually checked out a little bit about this one. I was really disappointed on the Monday show. At the end of that, it sort of fell off.
It hurt.
and I was happy to see they came back and they put together a consistent effort throughout the game. Just looking at the scoreboard, scored a couple runs early, a couple runs in the middle, a couple runs late. So it's nice that sometimes you'll just get like a little chunk where they just the spark. It was nice that they were able to, be consistently scoring throughout the game and pull away with a win. I mean, it was still a relatively close game in the 7th. It was 5-6 at the time. So they got one extra run on the 8th and the 9th and add some insurance. They clearly needed that the previous night because you can never have too many insurance runs in this league. Yeah. But I was happy to see that they won that one. I was bummed that we didn't get a third game in that series, though, because we really could have used the momentum into a third game.
Yeah, no doubt, which led into the 5-game series with the Marlins, which, as we talked about earlier, they're currently playing game 5 right now. They're down. They scored a field goal last inning, so now it's 7-3. So Nats still have life. Top of the 6th, 1 on, 1 out for the Marlins. They've been swinging. They've been swinging the bats. Well, I believe they're in second place in the division. what is that? Yeah, 11-11. So they've been playing some good ball, and they've been smacking around the Nats pitching tonight. But let's see if we can get a late offensive rally, which we saw them do so many times last year after the seventh inning with the Nationals, that they can muster some offense and maybe tie the game up, or get a walk-off win against this Marlins team. But let's go ahead and get into the 4 out of 5 games wrap up so far. They are looking to win this game, to win the series. They're currently 2-2. The first game was a 3-2 loss. Patrick Corbin took the mound. Unfortunately, he gave up a 3-run home run in the second inning, and that's all he gave up. But unfortunately, the final score was 3-2. The Nats were only able to get 2 runs against the Marlins prospect. I believe this was his first start. I can't even pronounce his first name, last name Hernandez. He went 5 innings, giving up 3 hits, 2 earned runs with 6 strikeouts. As I mentioned, Patrick Corbin, he took the loss. That puts him at 2-2. He went 6 1/3, giving up 8 hits, 3 earned runs with 9 strikeouts. And Brandon Kitzler, I believe ex-Nats player, ended up getting a save. That's his 4th save of the season. He went 1 inning, clean inning, no runs, no hits, and no strikeouts. Getting into the second game, which was a 5-4 win by the Nationals. They started out the game quick with 2 runs in the first, and they were able to basically hold on since it was a doubleheader. It was only 7 innings. Me and Robbie was discussing that. We forgot that they made that change with the COVID situation. So since it was a doubleheader,
great rule change. I'll just say that. I
Agreed.
I could not watch 18. I watched both games, and I watched almost all of them, but I would never have watched 18 innings with no fans. It just wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I totally forgot because I was looking in the 7th. I'm like, why is Hudson in the 7th inning? What's going on? Why are they having him in the 7th inning in the game? But then it was over, and I saw that the second game was supposed to start at like 7:05, and it was like 6:45. I'm like, there's no way they're going to be able to start this game at 7. And it dawned on me, oh yeah, it's only 7 innings. So
but they switched who was the home team, and they swithed jerseys, so that was interesting.
Because I remember that was a makeup game from when they didn't go down to Miami when they got caught up with the COVID. So yeah, it was an interesting game, for to say the least, with the whole 7 innings thing, because that threw me off. And Asdrubal Cabrera, I was a fan of his when we signed him the first time. I didn't like that we let him go, but this guy's been killing it at the plate, man. He's been hitting well, not just home runs, but getting timely hits and getting it when it counts.
Carol, just so you know, I'm gonna go say goodnight to Zach real fast, but you guys break down this series.
All right, tell Zach goodnight, man.
All right.
Good night, Zach.
The winner of this game was Kyle Finnegan. He went 1/3 of the inning, giving up no hits, no runs with a strikeout. That puts him at 1-0. Dan Castano took the loss for the Marlins. He went 1/3 of the inning, giving up 1 hit, 2 earned runs with a strikeout. And Daniel Hudson earned his 6th save of the season. As I mentioned, coming in the 7th. He went 1 inning, clean inning, no hits, no runs with 2 strikeouts. This was a good win for the team. It was basically a grinded out game. They came out on top to get split it 1-1. And then the second game of the doubleheader was unfortunately a 5-3 loss. This one was more perplexing to me. I felt like the Nats had a chance to take advantage of this game and win it, but the Marlins found a way to outlast the Nationals. They tried to come back. The Nats were down 4-1 going into the 5th. They put up 2 runs in the 5th, which gave me the hope that they would be able to, try to come all the way back. But unfortunately, they gave up a run in the bottom of the 5th, which was the deciding factor, 5-3. For the Marlins, Sixto, I'm reading that's his name, Sixto. Sixto. I don't know if he got 6 toes or what, but Sixto Sanchez. He was 1-0. He went 5. Another young Marlins prospect. They had some pitching. I didn't know they had some quality young pitching like that. But he went 5 innings, giving up 6 hits, 3 earned runs with 4 strikeouts. Will Crowe for the Nationals. I'm not even sure who he is. I didn't even know his name. He must be somebody they called up or anything with all the injuries to the pitchers. We didn't even talk about the Strasburg going on the IL. The season is over with the carpal tunnel situation. He's supposed to be having surgery. But Will Crowe took the loss. He's 0-1. He went 3 2/3, giving up 6 hits, 4 earned runs with 2 strikeouts. And Brandon Kitzler earned another save, his 5th of the season, going 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, no earned runs with a ball on base. And the fourth game of the series, which was yesterday, the Nats scored some runs, put up 9, beat the Marlins 9-3. I didn't get a chance to really check this game out, but apparently Anibal Sanchez found his rhythm yesterday. We talked about his first 3 starts and how he was looking like he did at the beginning of last year before he went on the IL, but he put up a hell of a game yesterday, going 7 innings, giving up 5 hits, 1 earned run with 5 strikeouts. Humberto Mejia, guess that's how you say it. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. He took the loss for the Marlins. He went 3 2/3, giving up 7 hits with 4 earned runs with 4 strikeouts. The Nats were on it from the beginning. They got a run early, a double by Howie Kendrick. Trey Turner, he had himself a day. I believe he went 3 for 3 with 4 RBIs, I believe. The Nats put up 5 runs in the 5th to bust the game open, and pretty much that was it. And then we're currently sitting 7-3. Then the bottom of the 6th, 0-1 with Luis Garcia actually at the plate right now. So maybe the Nats can get a rally going. Brian, I'll go to you first this time. Did you get a chance to check out any of those 4 games versus the Marlins?
I saw a little bit of it. That first game was unfortunate because Corbin did pitch well outside of the 3-run home run, and that ended up being the difference in the game. It's weird where you get 2 home runs in a game like that, and that ends up being the difference in the game. The 3-2 game like that, just 2 home runs ends up being the difference. This is pretty crazy. And you split the doubleheader on Saturday. I mean, I think you're just going to see a lot of doubleheader splits across Major League Baseball this season just because there's going to be a lot of games played and teams are tired. It's tough to win 2 games like that, even if they're only 7 innings. I've actually seen a couple games this season where you kind of talk about that, the second game where they lost 5-3, where some teams are saying like if they had played the 9 innings, they would have had a chance to come back. And I feel like that game is an example of that. I feel like the Nationals would have had a chance to come back in the 5-3 loss if they had a chance to play more innings, but unfortunately it was only a 7-inning game, so they weren't able to get the win. Unfortunately, they get the loss. And on Sunday, they put up a good offensive performance. I want to give a shout out to Lewis Brinson of the Marlins because he made an incredible catch in the first inning to rob Juan Soto of a home run. It was absolutely, he leaped out of the bill. It was on par with Robles' catch on Tuesday. Just a great catch, but ultimately, other than that, that was the one highlight of the game for the Marlins. The Nationals came to play offensively. They were really clicking, and I guess it's good to split the 4 games. It looks like they're, as of right now, they're going to unfortunately get the series lost, and obviously it's been a tough weekend with the Strasburg news as well, having to shut him down for the season, losing your World Series MVP. That's obviously really tough, but you'll take a split in 4 games. I mean, we'll see what happens the rest of the season.
Real quickly, Brian, I just wanted to ask. I know that they would have had a chance if they were the home team in the second game, but because they were the road one, and so they would still have to, bottom of the 9th, kind of deal with that, with Miami, that they would be hitting at the top. I wonder if that hurts them to be the home team in the first game and the road team in the second game.
I don't know. It's interesting for sure. I mean, it's not every doubleheader is going to be like that. I mean, they were just doing that because they're just doing that because they're making up for the games lost due to COVID. But it's definitely something to consider for sure if they would have come back or not. I think it's something to consider.
Yeah,
definitely. Ron, did you get a chance to check out those first 4 games, and what did you take away from this 2-2 split so far?
Yeah, it was a little bit strange that the Nats lost the games with their best starting pitchers pitching Corbin and Scherzer, and specifically, Brian pointed out that 1 home run in the first game really cost the Nats. It was a 3-run homer off Rojas, who just got reactivated from COVID. And the Nats had 2 solo home runs, but it's just like you need to get runners on base, I guess. And Kinsler had 2 saves in the series. The Nats, he's remained perfect for the season. He used to be on the Nats briefly. And at least the Nats did get 2 wins, but it's Garcia had 3 hits in the last game before today, and Sanchez pitched well, but it's just unfortunate right now the Nats need to be playing better than just 500 ball. They need to start stringing together some series win after the slow start to the season.
Yeah, not even 500. Still 3 games under 11-14. but it's the bottom of the sixth, and Jan Gomes just got on with a double. He has an 8-game hitting streak.
He's been hot lately, yeah.
Both of the catchers, Suzuki and Gomes, have been playing well at the plate and behind the plate. So, I mean, the ingredients are here. They're only 3 games, under 500. The Marlins are 11-11, and they're in second, and the Nats are 11-14 and in last place. So, and with all the division games, they're not out of it. I feel like they're going to click. They're going to get things together. They're still trying to figure out their infield. They're still, figuring out, having the DH, going on and everything. And I think that they're going to be fine. I think that I think they're going to be in the playoffs, no doubt. Robbie, did you get a chance to check out the whole series?
Yes, I have seen the whole series. I want to say that play was actually closer at second than I thought it was going to be. When he hit it, it was sort of to deep. And I thought he could, get a stand-up double easily. And they made a good play to get it to the second baseman quite quick. So he had to end up sliding for it. But he's been playing great for them. I have watched a bunch of it. I did see a lot of that doubleheader game. It was really interesting, to see the mechanics and how you have to deploy your pitchers differently in a 7-inning game than you would in a 9-inning game. So I apologize. Zach's gonna be a little mad for a second because
terrorizing the house right now.
Yeah. He just found out. He just found out that he's bedtime. When I went up there, he didn't quite get it. Now he gets it. But anyway,
he's gonna run for the ball.
But he's gonna try. He's gonna try to bolt. But anyway, I'll let you guys break it down and I'll
Zach is really protesting bedtime, boy. Zach is like, no, not today.
He never took a nap. He stayed in there for an hour and a half and never fell asleep. So he's extra tired. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Once he hit that pillow, he's gonna be gone. But yes, I really don't feel that the Nats are in any deep trouble. Especially, unfortunately, I didn't know Castro injury was for the rest of the season. But next man up in Garcia, he's been coming in playing solid defense and at the plate playing well. You got Juan Soto, player of the week last week, doing what he does at the plate and in the field. Victor Robles making Golden Glove catches, 2 or 3 times this season in order to save games. You got new players like Eric Thames and Jane Harrison. And I think that it's all going to work itself out with this shortened season. And the more, I believe this week they have 7 games in 7 days. So the more they play, the more consistent they get. And just got to figure out the pitching situation. Like you said, Strasburg going down and Scherzer and Carl Corbin taking, losses, their 2 best pitchers. So it's going to be interesting. I think Davey Martinez is going to have everything by the time the playoffs start. It should be good to go.
Unfortunately, there's an out here and it ends the inning.
Yeah.
But I just, now that I can speak without a noisy person behind me, I think the DH is really interesting. They're just doing it for this year, right? It's not like it's a...
I think it's coming universally. At some point, they're going to have a universal DH. Like, it's coming. It's coming at some point.
No, I will always leave the National League alone. Let it stay the way it is. That's the difference in the leagues, man. That's one of the things I do love about baseball, that you have 2 different leagues that have 2 different approaches. So when they meet at the World Series, it's another strategic battle that has to be worked out. I hope they don't. They need to do the electronic strike zone before they mess with the DH, man. That's just my opinion.
I mean, I agree with that, but I do think the DH is definitely I think it's just time for a universal DH. Like, it's, the offense is way up in the American League because of it. And, I'm just tired of me personally, I'm just tired of seeing pitchers hit. Like, pitchers go up there, they barely hack at it, or they just look at 3 pitches and go down, or they bunt. It's just boring to me. I just think it's all boring, and I'd rather just see a DH up there.
You got Strauss hitting home run. I mean, it happens
every once in a blue moon. Yeah, sure.
That adds the fun to the game. You don't know what you're going to get. Are they going to bunt to try to advance the man? Are they going to actually try to, swing away? Are they going to swing on a 3-0 count? I like I'd say I'm more of a strategy guy. So when you throw another wrinkle into it, I love it. Arun, what is your take on this so-called universal DH situation?
Yeah, I'm with you in the sense that I'd rather get the electronic strike zone first. That's a more major change. And I guess, like, if you have a good hitting pitcher like Scherzer, then you might as well not get the DH.
Yeah, I like the difference in the leagues. I like that that's the difference. I mean, American League, yeah, y'all do score a lot more runs, but when it comes to the World Series, it all balances itself out. And then, in the American League part, you had a DH, and the National League part, the pitcher
I
got.
just want to say that even that having the DH really helped the Nationals win the World Series last year. Having that extra batter in their lineup, being able to put Asdrubal Cabrera and Howie Kendrick both in the lineup really helped the Nationals last season. So I think a universal DH would actually benefit a team like the Nationals, especially, honestly.
Dirty move, Brian. That's a dirty move using my own team against me, man.
It's smart though. I was on your side before, Carol, but Brian may have just won me over.
They still won the World Series anyways without the universal DH, so it's still.
That's true. They won all the games on the road. I mean,
yeah, they won all the ones with the other. Yeah, the DH.
Yeah.
Ones, so.
Right, you had to make a point there. Damn it, Brian.
Howie Kendrick need his off day, so I guess.
So, Robbie, how do you feel about it? Has Brian's argument tilted you?
Nah, he's won me over. I think because he won me. I was wavering. I was that guy that could have gone either way, but Brian won me over.
Awesome.
He had to put a World Series in there, so I can't even be. I would rather it stay the same. I mean, if they change it, they change it, but. I like
the difference, but I also grew up an Orioles fan, so I was more used to that. Obviously, when I went to college in Philly, I sort of got more used to the other way, and so I've enjoyed the difference. I've seen it from both perspectives. I'm not mad if it stayed, but I wouldn't be like heartbroken if it left. You know what I mean? But I agree with you. The universal strike zone and having the digital pitch being able to read that out, or at least being able, we've talked about a couple of ideas, being able to challenge it possibly, even I'd be okay with that, where you keep the umpire in for a little bit, but you use a certain number of those. There's ways that are in between that you could still get some important calls correct. Hopefully they figure that out.
Yeah, so it's interesting, but I don't know, Brian, but a universal DH, I don't know. I fall in love with National League Baseball. So I don't know. I was an Orioles fan back in the day too. I remember Harold Baines doing it at DH for so long, and that's I like the DH for that fact that when the players are older and they can't field anymore, but they still have talent at the plate, that they still have a chance to play in a league, which is great. But I love National League baseball. I love having the pitcher hitting all the strategy.
And the double switch, right? That comes with the
yeah. See, that adds a whole nother intricacy to the game that makes baseball more interesting to me, I think.
I get where you're coming from. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't hear what you said, everyone. Say what you said again.
And shorter baseball games.
Nah. Well, I mean, if you enjoy the game, you enjoy the game. If it's 3 hours and 30 minutes long, but it's a good game, hey, we watch football for 3 hours. Why can't we watch baseball for 3 hours?
Because there's so much more action in football in 3 hours than there is in baseball in 3 hours.
I guess because we have multiple TVs in our house.
It's a great secondary sport. I could put on 3 baseball games and still watch them.
I guess we're kind of spoiled. I don't really care if it's a 3-hour game because I got that game on one TV and I'm watching another TV anyway. So I guess I can see that, but I mean, I still can't believe how big of a baseball fan I am, because actually I wasn't really a baseball fan as a watcher. I used to play, but I couldn't watch a whole game. Now I couldn't imagine not watching the whole game.
Yeah. I definitely become more of a baseball fan as I've gotten older. I used to love going to the ballpark. I always did growing up. I love that, but it was hard for me to watch it on TV. But I definitely, as we get closer to the playoffs, I love watching playoff baseball on TV. It's a little hard for 160. Some odd games to try to catch a lot of them. But I definitely like the condensed season for that reason. Now each game means a little bit more, which, I think that it draws my interest, especially like a doubleheader where I can watch 2 games that mean a lot more in 14 innings. That sounds like a great day of baseball right there. So
that definitely was a good move on their part. That was done because they did take into account that you might have some cancellations, rain out, or a possible COVID situation like they had in Miami where you would have to do that. So I got to take your hat off on that. Maybe not on all the other stuff they've done, but that was definitely a good decision.
But also, they don't have to have as much time between games that way. You don't have fans in this thing, so you could just do 2-7. I mean, basically, 2-7 inning games doesn't end up being that much longer than like a game that goes into extra innings. So
fans go to the concourse, get some more beers, and be like, all right, let's go for the second game now, buddy.
I know. I definitely. I've never actually gone to a doubleheader. I think that would be an interesting. It'd be a long day, but it'd be interesting.
Right, you get to a doubleheader, being a diehard Yankees fan. I know you.
I think I've been to the first game of doubleheader, but never the second. I've never been to both games of a doubleheader. I don't think that would be cool though.
What about you, Arun? You ever did a doubleheader before live?
I've done the second game of a doubleheader.
So between the both of you, we've had a whole
Yeah.
So we got that covered. Cool. Let's go ahead into the upcoming schedule so you guys could wrap up with the NBA bubble and the playoff stuff, and I could do some WNBA coverage after you guys. Tomorrow, the Nationals open up a 3-game series versus the Phillies. First game is a 6:05 start on Tuesday. Wednesday is a 6:05 start, and Thursday is a 6:37 start. I don't know where they got that time from, but okay. Then they go to Boston, Brian's favorite rival.
Yes, big Nationals fan this weekend.
So how? Before I go, how are the Red Sox doing?
They suck, man. They are garbage. They're the first team to 20 losses this season.
Really? Wow.
They are that bad. They are terrible.
I know you.
I'm not just saying that as a fan. I'm not just saying that as a Yankee fan. They are actually bad.
So you got a Boston Red Sox voodoo doll at home that you.
Yes, that's exactly. I don't even need it. They have so many injuries. They're just not good. Like they're a mess.
I just hope the Nationals then take advantage of that, right? Because I've seen DC teams, go into a situation where it's like, oh, we should have this. We're the world champions. They're awful on paper. Let's get 3 wins, but like, got to look at every baseball game and matchups and all that sort of stuff. So it's never that easy, I find.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes they play down to their competition. Hopefully, that doesn't happen. I don't see that happening today. Hopefully. But they start on a Thursday with a 7:30 start. Saturday is a 7:30 start, and Sunday is a 1:35 start to wrap up that week because they're playing tonight with the Marlins. As I said, they have 7 games in 7 days, so hopefully they can gain some consistency and figure out some of the pitching rotation with some of these young guys. I forgot to mention Romero. I forgot his first name, but Romero, one of the top prospects for the Nationals. He had a rough start early in the week. He got rocked, but he came in, I believe it was Saturday, and had a decent start. He didn't earn the win, but he definitely looked good. So there's hope for the pitching, like we talked about Strasburg going down, and Sanchez, he looked good in his yesterday, so maybe he can round into form. Max has been pitching well, and Corbin, he was 2-0, took the last 2 losses. Unfortunately, like I said, just gave up that 1 home run in the last game. But I think they're going to be all right and should be able to make a nice run to the playoffs and see if they can defend their world championship in this COVID-shortened season.
For sure. It's going to be a tough thing. And then next week on Monday, August 31st at 7:05, they'll be playing Philadelphia again. That time will be at Citizens Bank Park, and that'll be during our earlier Nats coverage. I just want to reiterate for people who may not have heard earlier, we're going to be putting the Nats back at their normal summertime at 7 o'clock now that the Capitals season is unfortunately over. So we'll start our Nats talk a little bit earlier next week. We'll probably go for about 30 to 45 minutes on that, and then we'll probably do a little NBA talk, Brian, you and me, and Arun, if you're joining us at an earlier time. And we can sort of go into the NBA for the second part of that hour, and then we'll do hockey at 8, and then we can end with Mystics and any Washington football news that comes out of training camp, as we sort of get those last couple of picks in before we figure out who the final roster is for the Washington football team. I keep on wanting to call him a different name. I'm trying to be good.
I up yesterday myself, but I caught myself. So it's going to take a little while to get used to it. But ironically, today they were actually playing a preseason game today, I believe.
I think they would have actually.
They would have been playing the Colts today if it wasn't for the COVID situation, and that's going to throw another whole wrinkle into the season for everyone not having any preseason games.
Well, we used to start slowly, so I don't know if not having preseason is going to be good or bad for the Washington football team.
I throw a little nugget out there after my WNBA coverage and talk a little bit of Washington football. There's been a little bit of news coming out this week, so I'll probably do a quick little segment after I talk WNBA. But I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to get things set up so you guys can get ready to run through the NBA roundtable. Let me adjust this on my feed real quick.
Sounds good.
Where'd it go? Okay.
So just for time, we're going to do kind of an abbreviated NBA roundtable, kind of a preview of what we might do next week. We're just going to go through the different matchups and how they've kind of fared so far. And then we will wrap it up with some WNBA and some Washington football talk to finish off hour 2 of episode 5 of Sports on the Hill podcast. And Milwaukee, Orlando started off odd for Milwaukee, but with them losing the first game, but then they've put 3 in a row up. I think that they will end up getting that 4th win in a row. Real quickly, Brian, anything? I know you were probably surprised with the first game, but other than that, do you think that the series is going to go as planned?
No, I mean, I think Milwaukee's got this. This series has been pretty boring outside of the first game. Milwaukee's pretty much had it under control since that first game. That first game was almost like a wake-up call for them. So, like you said, I fully expect Milwaukee to win Game 5, finish off the series, and conclude what's been a pretty boring round for the Eastern Conference in the first round.
Yeah, so I'm going to get each one of you to give a take on one of the series because there are a lot of ones that are sweeps as well. So Toronto swept Brooklyn. So Arun, what are some of your thoughts on that series?
That was the first time like the Raptors had an NBA history that a bench had 100 points off the bench in the last game of that series. It's just the Raptors are that much deeper than the Brooklyn Nets. Caris LeVert could be a really good player for the Nets in the future, but Toronto's loaded and they're ready to face Boston.
Yeah, for sure. And then the next one is Boston sweeping Philadelphia since the Knicks play in that division. Brian, what are some of your thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, this really wasn't much of a series. As soon as Ben Simmons got hurt, the Sixers' chances went pretty much right out the window, and they pretty much had no heart this entire series. The Celtics look good. Tatum, Brown, Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, they all played great. The Sixers fired Brett Brown today. So there's a lot of questions about the Sixers going into next season. Who will be there? Who will be the coach? Will Embiid get traded? Will Simmons get traded? A lot more questions than answers for the Sixers. You wonder about their future for sure. But, yeah, there wasn't much competition in this sweep. Celtics pretty much manhandled the 76ers.
And then to continue the theme of the sweep, the Heat right now are putting it on the Pacers. They're up, I believe it's 82-73. I don't have enough TVs to watch that game right now. And I also don't know if it's better than the 2 games I was watching because it seems like the Heat have kind of had the Pacers numbers so far. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, I think that series was, actually the least close out of all the series in the East, which is saying something. Jimmy Butler in the first game hit a couple clutch threes in the only close game of that series. And other than that, Miami's just way too much with Victor Oladipo clearly not at 100%. And Sabonis was their all-star and he's out. So the Heat versus the Bucks potentially will be a really good second round series.
Yeah, so the West has been a lot better. We'll put it that way. So let's get into some of those matchups. Today, the Houston OKC series got tied up. I watched some of it, but unfortunately was having dinner and setting up for the show, so I didn't get to watch the end, which I'm bummed about because every part of this series I've watched has been great, with especially in Game 3 with Houston playing well, but then the Beard getting fouled out and OKC sort of dominating overtime. Were you guys able to watch today's game and how OKC was able to pull it off?
Yeah, I did. Basically, like the Thunder were down by double digits and then the Rockets, they only hit 3 of their last 21 threes at one point of the game. And then Chris Paul took it to James Harden at the end of the game with like a mid-range jumper, and he kind of carried the Rockets in this one. Of course, the Rockets made like a half-court meaningless three, but made it a 3-point game at the end. But I think OKC with Dort, their defensive, like he's doing a really good job slowing down Harden. Without Westbrook, this series is 50-50, maybe, I guess, and no home court advantage for Houston to rely back on. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think Houston is a little bit better, but you never know because Chris Paul, and down the stretch, Oklahoma City is one of the best teams if it becomes close down the stretch, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, the next series is really interesting. This the Dallas versus the Clippers series, and Brian, Luka Doncic went off. Doncic.
Yeah, Doncic. Yeah.
Doncic. Okay, anyway, Luka Doncic went off on Kobe Bryant's birthday, which I thought was interesting, and just put together 43 points, 17 rebounds, and 13 assists, and they tied the series. So Carol actually wants to ask a question about him after this, but I'll get your thoughts first, Brian. What are your thoughts on this series and his play last night?
Yeah, when Luka Doncic got hurt on Friday night, it looked really bad. Like I was watching it with Mike, and we were like, "Wow, that looks like a season-ending injury." He came back into the game, but he was limping off. He did not look good. And to come back yesterday and have a 43-point triple-double and the buzzer beater, and not to mention their second-best player, Kristaps Porzingis, was out of the game. It is the performance of a lifetime, and he is only 21 years old. It was absolutely outstanding. His series has been great so far. I'm really happy the Mavericks won yesterday because that makes it a really interesting series going forward. There's a lot of storylines. Paul George has not played well for the Clippers at all in this series. They've been calling him Pandemic P on the internet, which I think is kind of funny. But Paul George hasn't played well. Kristaps Porzingis is out. He's got an injury, so we'll see if he plays in Game 5 tomorrow night. There's a lot of intrigue to this series. And, Luka just fired the shot heard around the world yesterday. I think the Mavericks have a chance in this series. I think it'll be close. The Clippers are still a great team. Marcus Morris hit a huge shot for them to put them up in that game before Luka's shot. But, man, this has definitely, I think, so far been the best series.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. I want to get Carol's question in a second, but I was been so impressed by it. And because I thought the Clippers were I thought it was going to be the Battle of LA in the West, no doubt. And both LA teams had a little bit of trouble here early on, although the Lakers have looked a little bit better lately. But I was so impressed with the tenacity and just a very exciting game. I thought it was one of the best games I've seen. And I read an article in the Washington Post that my dad sent me. He wasn't even supposed to play that game. He was not going to play, but then he found out that Porzingis wasn't going to play, and he realized his team had no chance without both of them. And he gritted together that performance. To me, it's almost like the flu game all over again, with Michael Jordan. It's just like, how the heck? Only 3 players in NBA history have put up numbers like that in a single game. And I just thought it was really impressive. Carol, do you want to ask your question now, or do you want to save it for the very end?
I guess I'll go ahead and throw it out there now. I don't watch basketball, but I actually looked at I didn't watch the game live, but I went back and looked at his performance. Who is this dude? You said he's 21 years old.
Yes. He is the present and future of the NBA. He is without a doubt you're going to remember the name Luka Doncic for years and years and years. He is an absolute star in the making, already a star. He is amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. And that game winning shot, that 3, I was just like, wow. I was like, yeah, that dude is serious. And I know your boy Porzingis, ex-Nick, didn't play. But those two down there in Dallas, like I said, I haven't been watching for real, but that definitely caught my eye. And, that dude is sick. I just had to get my 2 cents on that because, like I said, I don't watch basketball, but he channeled his inner Kobe Bryant yesterday.
And he was down. That's the thing is, that's a shot I'm not saying it's easy to make, but it's one thing when it's tied. But it's a different thing when you're down and you just take that shot and you just win. That is an incredible It's one of probably the best buzzer beaters in this tournament so far, and will probably be one of the highlights of this entire playoffs for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was very exciting. Arun, do you have any thoughts on this one before I move on to one of the other series?
Yeah, it was interesting that even though that like Porzingis was out, 46 points were still scored by former Knicks, including Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway Jr.
The dagger from Arun.
You're uninvited from our fantasy league, Arun.
All right, we'll move on to this Denver-Utah series, which I've loved the Utah's jerseys in this one. I think that they're sunset jersey. I don't know what they call them, but that's what I'm calling them. They look like the sunset skyline of Utah. I think they're one of the coolest looking jerseys I've seen in the tournament. And it's powering them to a 3-1 lead over a number 3 seed in Denver. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, before the series, I thought like the Nuggets were favored just slightly because Bojan Bogdanovic was out, but I don't think like Donovan Mitchell is on fire. He had like 2 50-point games. The only other players to have that in an NBA series are Michael Jordan and Allen Iverson. And the other thing was that Jordan Clarkson's like on fire. Like he did not play this way with the Cavs when with LeBron but it's just like Jamal Murray had 50 points for the Nuggets. That's the first time in NBA history that 2 players on different teams had 50 points in an NBA game. So that was like pretty crazy, but like there's like no pick and roll defense being played by the Nuggets. They still have a chance to come back and win this series, but Jokic is a great offensive player, but he provides no rim protection. And so, it's going to be tough to overcome a 3-1 deficit.
Yeah. Brian, any quick thoughts on that series?
Yeah, I think these teams are pretty evenly matched, Denver and Utah, even though it's a 3-6 matchup. I'm not too surprised Utah's up 3-1. I can see the series going even for like a 6 or 7 game series. I think Denver's not done yet. But Utah did have a big blowout win in this series, and they did look really good. And the double 50-point game from Murray and Mitchell is really good. And Mitchell is just a great player. I mean, I absolutely love Donovan Mitchell too. Just a great player, another rising star, another future face of this league, if not already a face of this league for sure. A great player, but I wouldn't be surprised if Utah wins the series at all.
For sure. All right. So then the last series is the one that I want to talk about. They're playing it tonight at 9 o'clock, so just in a couple of minutes. The Lakers kind of stumbled out the gates against Portland, but Portland's a good team. They're better than a standard 8-seed team in my mind. They would destroy the Wizards, right? So like,
it's not that hard.
Not that hard. But I'm just saying, like, you wouldn't. In the East, I think they would be ranked much higher than 8. I'll put it that way. I think that they are a solid team. They've got a bunch of great scorers. Obviously, I think the Lakers are too much to handle. They've got a pretty deep team, but it's been an interesting series so far. I'll start off with Arun, and then I'll get Brian's take as well. Arun, what are your thoughts on this series?
I think that the Lakers are a bad like even though like the Lakers have no one that can cover Lillard, I don't feel like the Blazers have anyone that can cover LeBron or Anthony Davis. And the short rotation for the Blazers, like they're really missing Trevor Ariza right now, just like another live body. Nurkic looked really exhausted at the end of the last game. If Lillard doesn't go off like he was during the playoff run, then the Blazers don't have any shot. He could still go off, but I'd still think without Ariza, like an extra body, I think Melo's doing amazing, like defensively for LeBron, given his past defensive reputation. But I think the Lakers should take care of the Blazers, like pretty easily.
Brian, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think Portland's really tired. I mean, they had to pretty much win every game down the stretch just to even get into the playoffs. They had to play a play-in game on top of that. I think Portland's just getting to the point where they're just too tired at this point. They're obviously a great story. Just even making it to the playoffs has been a great season for them, considering where they were on the outside. And I think they'll have a great season next year. But I think the Lakers might be too much Damian Lillard is playing his finger. I think he's got a dislocated finger, so he's playing through that as well. He didn't look as sharp in Game 3, and I think the Lakers just might be too much for the Trailblazers. Honestly, I think that the Lakers are looking really strong, and I think they're probably going to end up advancing in, I'm going to say, 6 games.
Yeah, I was surprised that they lost one, but Portland's a good team. But the Lakers, I just think, have more talent for sure. So that Boston's going to play Toronto. The rest of the next round series are still a little bit yet to be decided. The next game for the Boston-Toronto actually starts August 27th, which is Thursday at 6:30. So it'll be interesting to see how far these Eastern Conference games get before the Western Conference finishes their first round. So that's going to be something to watch to see, like, how those end up lining up, and if one league takes an extra week to finish than the other, that could be maybe an issue for scheduling down the line. But an exciting week for the NBA basketball, and hopefully next week we can have you guys back on a little bit of an earlier slot to break down how these series ended up. So with that, we're going to bring Carol back in to talk a little WNBA news or Washington football news, whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, I'm back. We can just go ahead and get ready to just run down, since we haven't covered the Mystics all season, the world champion Mystics. I guess I'll just give a quick rundown of their season. Unfortunately, they're 4th in the East, sitting at 4-9. Had some key players opt out. Elena Deladon hasn't been available. Chrissy Tolliver isn't available. I can go down a whole list of who's not there. But they started out the season decently, going 3-0. But then unfortunately went on a 7-game losing streak. And they were able to win the game Wednesday this past week against the Atlanta Dream, 98-91 to end that losing streak. But then unfortunately they've lost the last 2 to the Dallas Wings, 101-92 in overtime, and then they lost on Sunday yesterday. They lost to the Mercury 88-87, and I ain't gonna say heartbreaking loss, but they had a chance to win at the end, and unfortunately couldn't get the job done. We'll be bringing you more coverage of the WNBA in future series. Didn't get a chance to really delve into it. Like I said, today was a crazy day. So we had so much to cover. Unfortunately, I dropped the ball on the WNBA, but I guarantee next week I'll have some better coverage for the WNBA. Just to get a quick look at their upcoming schedule. They have a game on Wednesday versus the Atlanta Dream starting at 7. They have a game on Friday versus the Phoenix Mercury on the road starting at 10 o'clock. And on Sunday, they have a game against the Connecticut Sun at 4 o'clock. Then that'll wrap up this week. So I definitely have some coverage of those 3 games next week to break down. Hopefully they can go 2-1, maybe 3-0. But as I mentioned, they're missing a lot of crucial pieces, and trying to defend their title, unfortunately, hasn't started off on the best of runs right now.
Real quickly, Carol, I just wanted to also mention DC United played this week. They played FC Cincinnati to a draw, 0-0, which doesn't sound great, but when you look at it, they've had 3 ties. So that gives them 3 points, as many points as you get for a win. And that puts them in 10th place. Oh, there's so many teams. There's 6 teams on the Eastern Conference that only have 1 win. So having that many ties has actually put them all the way up at 10th instead of like 14th. So they're still in it. I wanted to ask Brian real fast, how many teams make it from the East?
I actually think it's 6 or 7. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Yeah. It's been a while since I've thought about the MLS playoffs, but they did just return to play this week, like you said. Their first game against Cincinnati, and then they play New England again this upcoming week. I believe they play New England in the MLS's back tournament, so they'll try and get a win this time. They got a draw in the MLS's back tournament.
Right. So we'll be following that a little bit. I just thought we would throw them in since we do cover DC United when they're able to play. So I just wanted to put that out there as well.
No problem. We gotta represent all the home teams. We don't cover them as often as maybe we like, but gotta throw it out there. I'm not a big soccer fan, but I know you guys are. we'll see, you know, what the DC United can do. Maybe they could bring some shine to this cloudy DC sports season so far. And I guess I'll go ahead and wrap up with some Washington football talk real quick. We mentioned at the top of the hour, well, the top of the show, not top of the hour, we're in our second hour now. They Ron Rivera has been diagnosed with cancer. He's you know, optimistic that everything should be good. They said it's a you know, good cure rate for the cancer that he has in his lymph nodes. He did a self check on himself and, you know, found it and went got checked out and everything. So that's another thing for the gentleman out there. You know I don't do it, but we have to start taking care of ourselves and doing self checks and stuff like that. Especially myself being the oldest guy on the podcast, I need to probably start taking in some of these things that are going on right now. But also they cut ties with ex New York Giants wide receiver Cody Latimer after he was arrested back in May, I believe. He was back on the roster. I'm not even sure if he was active in training camp, but they actually cut him, waived him yesterday. We spoke about Alex Smith a little bit in the hockey segment. I guess I'll get your guys' take on that too, with Alex Smith actually being on the practice field, running and throwing the ball to wide receivers and everything. I was on the record and said I didn't think that he would ever play another snap in the NFL after that horrific injury. Like I said, I don't mind eating my words if he does get back out there, because he's one of the more courageous athletes and willful people I would ever known in sports or in life, period, just to be able to come back from that. Brian, I mean, you're the outside looking in, the New York guy. What do you feel about Alex Smith and his comeback after that crazy, horrific injury almost 2 years ago?
I mean, I agree with you, Carol, that even if he plays one snap in the NFL, it's the most incredible comeback we've ever seen. I mean, this guy almost died on the field pretty much. I mean, it was just a crazy injury to come back from. And if the effort he's put in to come back and from this injury is absolutely incredible. It should be an inspiration to anyone, really, just absolutely inspiring. I don't think he has to play necessarily to prove anything to anybody. You know, if you want does, that's incredible, but he doesn't have to come back and play in the NFL, in my opinion. He's already been proven he's a warrior and that he can come back from something like this. So, yeah, I think it's an incredible story, but he doesn't have to prove anything to me. But if he does play one snap, comeback player of the year, comeback player of the century, if you ask me.
No doubt, no doubt. Arun, what is your take on this Alex Smith situation and him going from, you know, possibly, like you said, getting sepsis and losing his life to actually being back on the field at training camp almost 2 years later, and actually a possibility of him taking a snap at quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, I think it's a really incredible story that he made this comeback after a similar injury that ended Joe Theismann's career. ESPN right now is listing him as the number 2 quarterback on their website, which is interesting. I don't know, but it's still like a really far way to go. But they do have an old running back. Maybe they'll have an old quarterback starting if Dwayne Haskins doesn't show the opportunity to get it done.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible. We talked about with this COVID situation. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Allen is a starter, being that he had some familiarity with the offense. But we can only wait and see. End of the month, they're doing final cuts, and the season starts, I believe, first week of September. Robbie, what is your take on this whole Alex Smith situation with him making this miraculous comeback and being on the field with the team during training camp and getting cleared and everything?
Yeah, we spoke on it last week that we were at that game where that injury happened and how we're happy we didn't have to watch it on replay. Yeah, it's a great story. I really don't know who's going to be the quarterback for Washington football team, and especially with not having any preseason games, it usually gives us some tells, and not having any of that going into week one. I mean, do they have to declare? I don't know what the rules are in the NFL. I mean,
you have to tell who your starters are going into the game. You give your list of, who's playing and who's not going to be active. So, I mean, they don't have to announce before week one, game one. But, with this quarterback controversy town that we're in, the fans will go crazy if they didn't name somebody by the time the week one started. So it's
we're just not that many weeks away, right?
Yeah.
I just
crazy.
yeah. I mean, I think in 3 weeks, hopefully we'll know an answer, but it's not, it's not that far.
With no preseason, it's like, what is your barometer for judgment on, who would be the better starter for the team when you're going against your same team day after day after day? No wrinkles, no different, mentality from the other team. So it's
My
definitely
gut feeling is I put it on Alex Smith, see if he's still got anything left in the tank. Go up against Philadelphia, veteran, just see. Boom. I mean, if you find out that he doesn't, then he doesn't. You move on. But maybe there's something left in it. Maybe he can go on some magical run. Because remember where we left him off, right? He was playing phenomenal for that team.
6-2.
And yeah, and I think because of that and all the work he's put in, he's deserved an opportunity, right? And if it goes south in week 1, I mean, it's not going to change the development of our quarterback that much to have him whether he starts in week 1 or week 2. And I like what you were saying about Kyle Allen with his familiarity with the system, and that may ultimately win out. But for me, I want to see if there's any magic in it. The story is too good, right? We're trying to rebrand the Washington football team. If you can have the first game with this quarterback and this journey story, and they gut out a win against arch rival Philadelphia, that's a great story. That's how you want to start the new chapter in the Washington football team, right? So, I mean, yeah, there might be some quarterback controversy, but who's going to be like, man, I'm mad they gave a shot to the guy who tried so hard and risked life. And
there's going to be some fans that's going to make it racial or going to make it whatever conspiracy.
He can still have his time, though. I mean, I don't think that, there's still time for these young quarterbacks to get into the game down the line. Alex Smith doesn't have years, right? Yeah, it's either it's going to make it happen this year or he should retire, right? I just don't,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I honestly can't wait. That definitely puts Rivera in a sticky situation trying to figure out what's what. Arun, what is your quarterback scenario going into week 1? You agree with Robbie to go ahead and put Alex Smith out there to see what he has and go
I don't know if that's the answer, but Alex Smith is familiar with this offense, given that Norv Turner was the offensive coordinator of the Panthers, and Norv Turner has coached Alex Smith before with the 49ers. So, I'm pretty sure that he's up to the speed, even though Norv Turner is clearly not the same coach. Ron Rivera is bringing the same offense from Carolina to Washington. I think you have to go. I feel like you have to go with Haskins just to see just give him experience right now, because I don't you want to see if he has it or he doesn't have it pretty quickly. And potentially if the Redskins are really bad, the Redskins might be
swear jar.
Arun, your first time.
It wasn't.
Oh, sorry, the football team, my bad.
It wasn't me this time.
Me. Sorry, the football team might be one of the worst teams, and they might get that guy from Clemson, or we'll see.
Honestly, I don't see this team, because as Robbie mentioned, with the offense, is going to take a little bit of time with everybody with no preseason. And I believe the strength of this team is going to be the defense. And if that defense on paper can play on the field like they look like they can on paper, I think that it's going to be interesting for the Washington football team. And then with the quarterback situation, but Haskins, I'm not, because he's done so much good work in the offseason. I follow his page on IG and see all the work that he's been putting in, and getting leaner, cutting his body fat to 11%, and working on his craft and watching tape. So I mean, I see your point, Robbie, with letting Alex Smith go out there week 1, see what he has, and if he has it, ride it out. If he doesn't, move on. So I mean, with the psyche of a young quarterback in the league, I don't think Haskins is in danger of having a bad psyche if he doesn't go into the season as a starter. But I'm just interested to see how it will play out. If Smith can go out there and mimic what he was doing last year before he got, 2 years ago before he got hurt, 6-2. Adrian Peterson played a role in that, and the defense was playing at a top rate level before the injury. So it's a lot of X factors to go into it. So I'm just, at this point, I'm just sitting back waiting to see, because unfortunately we don't really get.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of information, and I think that's so key what you were saying. For me, I think Haskins could learn a lot by watching Alex Smith work. So a lot of great quarterbacks sometimes sit for the first year I know technically last year was his first year, but he couldn't sit behind Alex Smith because he was hurt. So he was robbed of that opportunity, right? So I think that if Alex Smith could, have a good work ethic and could show him the ropes and, maybe a couple of games into the season, then he gets his opportunity. He should still work out. I still like that he's putting the effort in, and hopefully, I still think Haskins could be our future. I think in such a shortened season, in such a weird scenario, and having that drive that Alex Smith has and that competitive spirit that we know he has, I'd like to see what he has. It's a great storyline. I just think it'd be a great thing to follow.
I mean, well, he's going to be here because he's under contract. So, I mean, his contract is almost not all guaranteed, but if they cut him, they're going to take a huge hit on the salary cap. So even if he's starting quarterback, or he's just being a mentor for Haskins, they said that he's been a very key mentor in Haskins all season, even though he was doing his own rehab and coming back from the injury. He was, took Haskins under his wing, and that's been the story on Alex Smith his whole career. Underrated, but he's always been a good teammate and a good mentor for whoever he's, partnered up with or competing against for the quarterback position. So it's definitely going to be interesting. I feel Haskins has the tools to be able to get there, but the X factor last year was that damn Jay Gruden throwing him out there with no first team reps and no acclimate to the offense already. And they're going to end of the game press conference. So I told you he wasn't ready. Well, you didn't prepare him to be ready. So how can you sit there and be like, yeah, I told you so, when you're the one that made it happen like that? But with a coach with Ron Rivera that knows how to develop talent and had a similar situation with Cam Newton and developing him, even though Cam was a day one starter. Was Cam a day one starter? I can't remember. But
yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was.
But yeah, so I mean, Cam was more of a finished product. We know Haskins only had one full year starter at Ohio State, and he had a stellar season. But 1 year doesn't make a NFL quarterback. So it's definitely going to be interesting. Like you mentioned, Robbie, it hasn't been much training camp coverage. I've been checking out, Julie Donaldson and Santana's page. They show some stuff, but it hasn't really been much to show. So it's
I do like what social media is doing. I have to give them a little bit of a shout out. I like that they've been going Facebook Live during the day and giving little bits here and there. And I think Julie Donaldson's been doing a great job coming into that situation on relatively short notice and how that all kind of came out. And I think that the coverage has been good. I'm interested to see how the radio play-by-play coverage. I don't necessarily love the team they put together, but maybe it works out. But just going back on my earlier thought about Alex Smith, he was the guy who helped coach Mahomes. And we see how Mahomes did after a year of watching Alex Smith play in front of him, right? So that's why when I say he was deprived of that opportunity, that's what I'd love to see is if Alex Smith could play a season, right? And we don't know what he can do. If he could play a season and he could watch that and witness that, maybe next year is the year, you see the rise of Dwayne Haskins.
No doubt. Brian, I'll get your take when we close out this segment, the outside guy looking in. What would you see going into week one with this team? Do you think they, like Robbie said, start with Alex Smith, see how he does? Or like Arun says, go ahead, put Haskins out there as number one and then go from there?
I'm actually on Arun's side on this one. I think Alex Smith, coming back from that injury, they should work him back slowly, I think. To throw him right into the fire on week one, I think is asking a lot of a guy who suffered such a horrible injury like that. And, Haskins did get some experience last year, but I think I actually agree with you guys. Learning from Alex Smith, I think, is really going to help him. If he is playing behind him this season, that can be invaluable experience for Haskins. So I think it could work out for the Washington football team. I think that this situation could work out either way, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see. I think we'll see Alex Smith at some point this season for sure. Whether it's at the end of the game for like a nice sentimental moment where he finally gets his return to the field, or if he starts. I mean, who knows? We could see it. It's 2020. Anything can happen. So I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see. But I think I'll go with Haskins for week one.
Sounds good. Quick scoring update on the hockey game. The Islanders are now up 3-0 on Philly in the third inning. I believe it's 9 minutes left in the third, and Baltimore has had 6 straight periods of shutout hockey. So the Islanders are looking like they're serious. And then just to give a quick hockey update real quick, I turned the Nats game off because Marlins put up another 2 runs, made it 9-3. So I've been watching.
But it's now 9-5, and there's 2 on. But it's in the top of the 8th. That's not good. So I'm gonna end my excitement there and say hopefully they get out of this inning, and that'll leave them with the bottom of the 8th and the bottom of the 9th to try to make up 4 runs. But it's not looking good for sure for today for the defending World Series champions. Right?
Yeah.
So we got
there's still time. There's only 26 and 27 games played with 60 total. So there's time to make that turnaround. Like I said, they're only 3 games under 500 right now. If they lose tonight, they'll be 4. But a lot of division games left. They got got Phillies next week this week, and we got the Red Sox, as Brian said, the first team in majors with 20 losses. Hopefully, Nats can add 3 more to that total when they play them next week, and hopefully get above 500 and start to take off. But we've pretty much covered we were supposed to have a short show today, but we went almost.
I don't know if we ever were supposed to have a short show. I looked at the rundown. It was like 2 hours was going to be tight to get it all in. This is about what I expected. I'll be honest.
As long as it's a good show, we giving that best DC sports coverage around. I can't be mad. I just hope folks tune in. Make sure you share it. Make sure you like the page. Make sure you let folks know. I'm in Facebook jail, so Robbie's going to be handling the Facebook.
I'll be sharing it out. But thank you to Brian. Thank you to Arun. Thank you to Anna for joining us. We really appreciate all of you guys, and hopefully we'll have you back on next week. Again, Nats Talk will be at an earlier 7 o'clock time, and then after Nats Talk sometime around 7:40 or so, we'll break down how those NBA playoff matchups went, and then at 8 o'clock we'll have a little general NHL talk with Anna. She's nice enough to come back and talk more than just Capitals with us. And then we'll end it with some WNBA and Washington football talk, like we did this week. But really appreciate everybody. I'll let Carol you the final sign. Oh, that's not good. It's more runs now against the Nationals. But I'll let Carol sign off before more damage is done.
Oh, boy, I'm glad I turned the game off. But as always, appreciate y'all tuning in. Appreciate y'all checking us out. Make sure you go check out the website, SportsOTHP.com, for all of the content, all of the great DC sports coverage we give you. Make sure you hit me up about the SportsOTHP apparel. Inbox me for details. These are ones I have in hand. This isn't the same as our website that has the District of Champions stuff, as you see in the background, as you see the pillow in Robbie's background. That make sure you help support the movement. We doing this for y'all. We love doing it, and we want to bring you the best DC sports coverage around, because obviously most of them are lame. But it's been a great show. Appreciate all the contributors: Arun, Brian, Anna, Robbie. Appreciate all the hard work, and I say let's get ready to get up out of here.